Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by GamingObli on Wattpad. Now let's start. It was a wonderful start to Izuku's day. He had a wonderful dream of being able to control 100% of One for All OFA and saving many civilians from villains. When he went to have breakfast, the dorm was so peaceful and quiet, a bit weird but hey, peace and quiet. So after breakfast, he went to class. He wore the normal UA uniform, his red sneakers, his normal yellow band and wore white earphones listening to Passionate Spectrum. Foreshadowing. While walking through UA, Izuku felt nervous. It was quiet, 2DMN quiet. It felt like something bad was gonna happen. He was in front of the door of his class, Class 1A. His stomach became uncomfortable. He felt like if he opened the door, a wave of FU was gonna roll over him. He slowly opened it to see something that really confused him. He saw his class, Aizawa, Midnight, Present Mic, Nezu, All Might in his muscle form standing at the front of the door, as if waiting for him. This happens after Eri's rescue and also AFO didn't get caught. What's going on? Izuku asked nervous. Shut up you dim-en traitor Deku, screamed Bakugo angrily, creating mini explosions in his palms readying to strike. What do you mean? Izuku asked confused and nervous. Don't try to act innocent you sneaky 𝐶𝐵. Kaminari said also angrily, electricity covering his body. Now students no need to act so violent. Nezu said making Kaminari and Bakugo deactivate his quirk. Izuku Midoriya. Nezu said coldly, expression changing. Yes. Izuku says nervous and shivering to the bone. He was then suddenly trapped by Aizawa's scarf and can feel All Might's presence behind him. What are you Izuku could say before Nezu interrupts. Izuku Midoriya, on 11:53 p.m. yesterday, you sneaked into my office and stole several flies about you classmates' quirks and skills, he stated. What? Izuku screams confused. But I was sleeping during that time. He states. Don't try to fight a losing battle. We have evidence that you sneaked into Nezu's office and stole the files. Aizawa says, his red eyes glowing a deadly shade of red. Midnight then proceeds to show a video of Izuku in his hero costume going into Nezu's office via window and opening a cabinet and taking several files and exiting. Saying that Izuku was confused would be the greatest understatement, as great at saying that Goku is only a little afraid of needles. But that wasn't me. Izuku managed to say. Shut your mouth, you traitor. Uraraka says angrily. You're a Izuku says as his head fell down and tears threatened to come out. I'm very disappointed in you, young Midoriya. You were the last person I expected to be the traitor. All Might said as he had a frown full of disappointment. Izuku said softly. You will be put in the world's worst prison for life. The plane is already here. Present Mic says. The pro heroes then put anti-quirk ℏ𝐶𝐹FS on him. All the way Izuku stayed quiet as his head held down. Not in disappointment, no, but in betrayal. He walked to the airplane with All Might, Midnight, Nezu, Aizawa and Present Mic. As they were about to enter the airplane, All Might plucked out a string of Izuku's hair, making him wince. Izuku knew why he did it. To take away Izuku's OFA. Now tears really was gonna come out, some already have. I'm taking back what's mine. All Might said coldly. As they went into the airplane, Izuku just stayed silent as tears ran down his face. What did I ever do to deserve this? He thought. He was placed in Prison Z. Hey, think of a better name in Prison Z, it held the most ruthless and cruelest of villains across the world. Week in the first week, Izuku was abused and harassed by the other prisoners. The only thing that kept him alive was the help of several guards that believed in Izuku's innocence. When they first met him, they asked him why he was here since he was so young. Hey kid, why you in here? You're too young to be in prison. One of the guards asked him coldly. I was betrayed. Betrayed by the ones that I thought cared for me. The ones that I thought would help me in the darkest of times. I was framed for something that I didn't even do. Something that I would never do in 1,000 years. Izuku said, the sadness obviously noticeable in his voice. This obviously piqued their attention since by the way he said it, the way his eyes and voice was filled with nothing but despair, pain, loss, betrayal. Whenever they asked this to other prisoners, it was obvious if they faked their sadness or despair. But for Izuku, it was so true, and it was obvious that he felt broken. I was a hero in training in UA. I did well in my classes, managed to save many people, helped my teachers, classmates and people that didn't even knew me that much. He said sad again, remembering him saving Kota from Muscular and Eri from Overhaul. I thought life was on my side, helping me, giving me a good life with good people. As a kid I wanted to be a hero. But when I learned that my quirk may not even appear, nobody believed in my dream, not my friends, not my teachers, not even my family. Izuku said, tears coming out of his eyes. I was bullied by my friends, put at the edge of death almost every day. My father left me because of my absence of a quirk. I learned that day when I was 4 that men were not born equal. For 11 years, my life was full of people that didn't believe in me, people that hurt me, destroyed me. For something I had no control over. Izuku screamed as tears fell down from his cheeks. Sniff, when I was 15, my best friend, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 told me to. He told me to take a swan dive off the roof off the building. Izuku said, managing to say what 𝐵𝐵𝐾𝐽 told him. This obviously caught the already heartbroken guards who were crying tears of sympathy for the boy off guard. He only wanted to be a hero that protect others as a kid. But life had other plans. No one believed in him. That same day, the slime villain that All Might was chasing caught me, almost killing me if not for All Might. That same day I asked him whether I, a quirkless kid, could be a hero like him. He said no. He said no in the coldest way possible. Izuku said as more tears dripped off of his and the guards' faces. After that, the slime villain caught 𝐵𝐾𝐽. When I reached the scene, I saw no pro heroes helping him. They were standing there as they watched him suffer, waiting for a hero with a better quirk to appear. On instinct, I ran to him. I ran to 𝐵𝐾𝐽 to save the person that tormented me for years. I managed to make him breathe by my useless and stupid attempt to save him. Thankfully, All Might managed to blow that slimy bastard into pieces all over. Izuku said, still laying and sitting on the cold cement floor with his back against the wall. I got scolded by the pro heroes because of my recklessness. That same day, All Might came to me to tell me that I could be a hero, which obviously made me happy since he was the first person to ever believe in me. He also told me to meet him at Dagobah Municipal Beach Park to train with him. It was probably the happiest day of my life. Izuku said as although tears came out of his eyes, he managed to smile, causing the guards to also smile. After cleaning the beach for 10 months, the beach was spotless. My quirk manifested. According to All Might, it was because I had to be physical enough to maintain the power of my quirk. Izuku said, surprising the guards since it turned out that he was the one that cleaned Dagobah Municipal Beach Park and that his quirk had to come out when he grew physical enough. After the UA entrance exam, I went to UA. I met and made new friends, new memories. Then came the USJ event that traumatized me and my friends. Then there was the UA Sports Festival, the events at Hosu, the camp and kidnapping of 𝐵𝐾𝐽, the battle of All Might and All for One that despite All for One's escape, it also caused him to be even weaker. There was also the hero licensing exam and finally, the 8 precepts of death. Then now, here I am, betrayed by the ones I loved and in the prison that kept the worst of the worst. Izuku said, returning from slightly happy to sad again. There was silence. Nobody spoke. The only sounds were the sound of sniffs from the guards. Izuku managed to sleep while the guards just sympathized with Izuku and his life. The next day, they told Izuku's life story to several other guards which also grew sympathetic with Izuku and his life. They helped Izuku in protecting him from the other prisoners that tortured and tormented him. Week 2, Izuku's torture continued. Sometimes he almost died if the guards didn't reach him in time. All the guards could tell from his aura, voice, eyes that he was broken. He almost became emotionless. They became worried. Week 3 to 4 this week was hell for Izuku. While he was walking to get food, several of the other prisoners pinned him to the wall before stabbing his left eye with a dagger they made. Izuku screamed in pain as he managed to kick off the person with the dagger. His scream alerted several guards as they came to Izuku's aid and carried him to the infirmary as the doctor aided him. Many of the guards guarded the infirmary so that no prisoner could enter. They really cared for Izuku. Sadly, Izuku lost his left eye and can no longer see from his left eye. Since he lost it. Well done me, this worried the guards even more since Izuku now looks like an empty husk with no emotion nor soul. Now, 3 guards will stay with him whenever he walked around to make sure he isn't attacked again. Over his left eye, he wore bandages around it. Just imagine it's Izuku and that the bandage is covering his left eye and that his right eye has a dull green color. Week 5 it was night and Izuku was sleeping somewhat peacefully, if you call sleeping on a pillow and on the cement floor peaceful, as the guards that first listened to his tale. Izuku's mindscape. In Izuku's dream he was in a black void with nothing. Where am I? He asked himself. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, so you're the one that Merlin said was worthy to inherit our power. A voice said, alerting Izuku. Who are you? Show yourself. Izuku said, getting into a fighting stance. No need to worry, pal, we're not gonna hurt you. The voice said as someone came out from the darkness. Who are you? And wait, Izuku asks, confused. The name's 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐴, the dragon sin of wrath. And we are the 7 deadly sins. Come out, guys. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 says. Suddenly, 7 other figures come out. So you're that kid that Merlin's been talking about. You look pretty worthy for a kid. The name's Ban, the fox sin of greed. Ban says. Yes, Ban, this is the child I've been talking about. I've been watching him for years and he is definitely worthy. A voice says. Greetings. My name is Merlin, the boar sin of gluttony. Merlin introduced. Oh my god. He looks so cute. A voice said as a pair of large arms grabs him. Hi there. My name is Diane, the serpent sin of envy. Diane says as she rubs Izuku on her cheek, who blushes slightly but still looks dead inside. Like this, but instead of 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴, it's Izuku, so you guys are 100% sure he's the one that is the most worthy to give our power to. Yawn, a voice that came from a child who was sitting on a green floating pillow. Yes, King, he is the best candidate. I've looked through his memories and he has shown true selflessness, courage, care and loyalty. A voice that belonged to a girl. With pink hair and glasses. If so, then I do believe he is the best choice to be our successors, said a large man with orange hair, an orange mustache, and is large and tall, possibly rivaling that of All Might. Power. Successor. What do you mean by that? Izuku asked, almost no emotion in his voice. Oh, so you must be Izuku, a voice suddenly said from behind Izuku. As Izuku turned, he saw a girl with long silver hair. Her left eye was blue while her right was orange. She also had 4 white wings on her back. Hi there, my name is Elizabeth. It's a pleasure to meet you. Elizabeth said politely to Izuku, causing Izuku to crack a slight smile. The pleasure is mine. Izuku said politely as he smiled. Anyways, Merlin said as she floated down. I think introductions are needed. Merlin continued. That is 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 and 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴. Merlin said as she pointed to 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 and 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴. Yo, King replied, looking at Izuku. Greetings, 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐴 replied. Hello, 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 replied. So, what am I doing here? And also, what do you mean by successor? Izuku asked, still no emotion in his voice. Well, Izuku, you are here because we want you to inherit our power. The power of the 7 deadly sins. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 informed Izuku. The captain's right. We find you worthy enough to have our power. Ban also said. We've been watching you throughout your life. You have showed true courage, selflessness, loyalty, and the need to help others, no matter the cost. Merlin also said. The sins could see Izuku, head hung low looking at the floor. Izuku recalled All Might wanting him to be his successor and inherit his power before taking it back from him. How could he trust these people that also want him to inherit his power? How does he know whether this is a trap by the villains? Suddenly, Izuku was hugged by everyone. We know you feel betrayed, lost, broken. I understand that this is confusing for you and you feel lost and confused. But trust us. We won't betray you. We will always be here with you. By your side, said 𝐴𝐿𝐿 as he hugged Izuku tighter. Izuku was shocked by the sudden action, but he embraced the hug. The care, the love, the tears haunting his eyes for so long let loose. His tears fell like waterfalls. For a long time they weren't tears of sadness, grief or betrayal. They were tears of happiness. After the event, the 7 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐵s went to tell Izuku about each of their powers and abilities. All right, Izuku. We're gonna teach you and train you to be able to contain and use our power, 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐵 said excited. How long will it take? Izuku asked, wiping the tears on his cheeks. At least 8 years. 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐵 replied nonchalantly, 8 years. Izuku screamed shock. Don't worry, Izuku. In here, time goes far faster than here. 7 years here would be 7 hours in the real dimension. Merlin replied, calming Izuku's nerves. In that case, I'm ready. Izuku replied, ready for what may be ahead. That's the spirit, 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐵 said. Let's begin with the captain first, then Ban, Diane, King, 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐵, then me, and lastly a 𝐴𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨. Merlin told everyone. All right then. Let's start Izuku. For the first year, Izuku learned how to use a sword, to learn to use Lost Vein. 𝐴𝐿𝐿𝐵 also made Izuku into a demon, allowing him to go into the various demon forms and use Hellblaze. He successfully learnt Full Counter, and also managed to evolve the attack to True Counter, where he can successfully counter magical, range and physical attacks with triple the power. He also managed to fully keep his emotions with his demon mark and successfully have his emotions in assault mode for 20 minutes. He also 𝐴𝐿𝐵 using Lost Vein. Year 2 with Ban, Izuku learned how to use his sacred treasure 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. He also managed to learn all of Ban's abilities and managed to get his immortality to an extent. Despite getting Ban's immortality, he doesn't regenerate his left eye as a reminder of his current life in prison. He also managed to learn how to cook nice food. Year 3 with Diane, Izuku managed to learn how to control the earth, use Diane's sacred treasure, Gideon, and use her techniques like heavy metal. Year 4 with King, Izuku learned on how to use 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 and use all of its forms. King also turned Izuku into a fairy, but he doesn't choose to show his wings. Izuku also managed to use Disaster. Year 5 with 𝐴𝐿𝐵, Izuku managed to instar his sacred treasure, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Izuku managed to better his magic abilities with 𝐴𝐿𝐵's help. Year 6 with Merlin, Izuku 𝐴𝐿𝐵 using her sacred treasure Aldan. Izuku also managed to use Infinity 2. Izuku managed to use all Merlin's techniques and also have a very great control in his magic. Year 7 with 𝐴𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, Izuku managed to use 𝐴𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's sacred treasure, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 race. Year 8 with Elizabeth, Izuku managed to learn the techniques of the goddesses and their history with the other races. During this, Izuku was also turned into part goddess, making him 1/4 demon, 1/4 fairy, 1/4 goddess, and 1/4 human. And thus, Izuku's 8 years of training with the 𝐶𝐮𝐬 had concluded. He learned their history, techniques, and power. Izuku felt happy with the 𝐶𝐮𝐬. They treated him like family. Well, Izuku, I think it's time for you to go back to the living world, 𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐼𝐼 said to Izuku. Izuku hung his head low sadly. Will I ever see you guys again? Izuku asked sadly as he looked at the 𝐶𝐮𝐬 as tears threatened to come out. You will, Izuku. We will always be by your side. Boys. 𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐼𝐼 replied as Izuku went to hug him. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Izuku replied in between sniffles. It's no problem, Izuku. 𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐼𝐼 replied before returning the hug. Soon everyone also hugged him. Well, I guess it's time I go, Izuku said as he wiped his tears. Bye, you guys. Thank you for everything, Izuku said as he smiled at the 𝐶𝐮𝐬. It's no problem, Izuku. We will always support you, Elizabeth replied. Yeah, you adorable brat. We will always support you, no matter what. Ban added. Yeah, what Ban said. It was really fun watching and teaching you Izuku. King also added. King is right, Izuku. You've always been fun to hang around with. Merlin said. Yeah. Having you around is like a light in a dark place. Diane said. It's true. You brought hope, joy and happiness to all of us. 𝐀𝐮𝐬𝐴 said as he smiled at Izuku. They are right, Izuku. Remember that we will always be with you. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 said to Izuku. Thank you everyone. You guys mean so much to me. Izuku said. Well, I guess it's time for me to go. Bye everybody. Izuku said as he waved at the 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴. Bye Izuku. They all said in unison as Izuku got covered in a bright flash of light. Reality. Izuku slowly opened his eyes to see that he is inside his cell. Was that a dream? He asked. Oh, you're awake, Izuku. Wait, since when did your hair have yellow in it? One of the guard asked Izuku, who he saw awake. Yellow. Izuku slowly got up and looked into a mirror in his hair to see his hair did have yellow and green. Just the hair, so it was all real. Izuku thought happily. Yo Sean, what time is it? Izuku asked, emotionless as normal. HM. Oh, it's 7:45 a.m. replied Sean with an Irish accent. Okay. Izuku said as he started to stand up and stretch. What's up, Izuku? Mark, another guard guarding Izuku, asked. Oh, I want to make something to suppress my power a bit. Izuku replied. So you want to go to the workshop? Another guard, Felix, asked. Yeah. Izuku said as he stopped stretching. All right, let's go. Sean said as he opened Izuku's cell. As Izuku, Sean, Felix and Mark walked to the workshop, Izuku tried to summon a bit of Hellblaze, which surprisingly worked. So it really was real, Izuku thought. So what you guys want to do for the 1-month holiday next week? Sean asks his two close friends. I'm gonna make a 4-part backstory for some of my alter egos with my friends, Mark replied. I've heard that some other YouTube channel called T-Series is catching up to the throne. Thankfully, Mr. Beast has been supporting my spot as number as a last result. I'm gonna make a distract called How About Beach Lasagna? Felix told. We'll try to help too if we can. Mark said. Yeah, that T-Series can kiss our butt. Sean said. Alright guys, I'm gonna make my suit now. Izuku told the three. Okay Izuku, if you need anything call for us. Felix told Izuku, which nodded in understanding. Hours later, the workshop opened showing Izuku wearing a white jacket and some sort of muzzle. Basically Izuku's outfit now. Whoa, nice jacket Izuku. Mark told, amazed at Izuku's outfit. They marked. Even with one eye I'm not gonna let things stop me, Izuku replied as Mark, Sean and Felix smile in happiness. Anyways Izuku, you have guests waiting for you, Sean informed Izuku. HM. Oh, that's interesting to hear. Let's go. Izuku said to the trio. As they walked to the place Izuku's visitors were at, Izuku felt a disturbance. As they opened the door to the waiting room, Izuku saw Nezu with Midnight with him waiting for him. Izuku's expression grew to one of slight anger, his face showing it but his eye remaining having its dull green color. This caught the attention of Felix, Mark and Sean. Whoa, calm down Izuku. I don't think they're to hurt you, Felix said, reassuring Izuku. Hope you're right. Izuku replied as he hesitantly sat down. So, what do you guys want? To torment me some more? Izuku asked, annoyed at seeing his teachers. Izuku, Midoriya, we're sorry. Nezu said as he and Midnight bowed at Izuku, obviously confusing him. What? Izuku asked, confused at the two's actions. We were too rash in our decision that we didn't consider looking at footage from other cameras of the school to see Himiko Toga shape shifting into you and stealing the papers. Nezu informed with a sad smile. After finding that info, we quickly came to take you back to UA so you can continue with your hero studies. Do you accept? Nezu asked Izuku as Izuku had a face devoid of emotion. And what if I said no? Izuku asked, surprising everyone. I guess if you said no then you will have to stay here for dash. Ring. The sound of Nezu's phone suddenly beeped. He looked at his phone, his face morphed to one of horror. Class 1A, 1B and the Big Three are being attacked by villains in the USJ not long before we arrived. Nezu informed, shocking everyone. What? Everyone said in unison. Damn it, we have to go. Nezu told Midnight, who nodded in agreement. Wait. Izuku shouted, gaining the two's attention. I will come back. Izuku told them. If it means protecting other people, then I will come back to UA. Izuku told them. All right, then come with us to the jet. Nezu told them. No need, I got my own ways to come, but faster. Izuku told them as the two nod and run to the jet outside. Well, I guess this is goodbye, guys. Izuku said, looking at the trio. Tell the other guys that I've been released and that I'll come back. Izuku said, cracking a slight smile. Okay, we'll miss you, Izuku. Sean said. We all will. Mark said. Thanks, guys. Izuku said, smiling. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Izuku said as he disappeared in the blink of an eye. In another place, All Might POVs. Damn it. The League of Villain can't win this now. Damn it. All Might thought as he was in his buff form, but he was bleeding greatly. BLD coming out of his mouth, a trail of BLD going down his forehead and his shirt in pieces as he was bleeding heavily. In front of him was 3 Nomus. A similar Nomu to the first USJ attack, another similar Nomu to the USJ attack but green, and another Nomu similar to the first one but with 2 extra arms attached to his back and having a bright red-colored skin. They all seemed to have greater shock resistance and greater hyper regeneration. Not even a 120% Detroit smash could damage the Nomus. Damn it, at this rate, me, the students, the other teachers, we'll all get killed. Ha! It's time for you to die, All Might. Nomu Red, kill him. Shigaraki ordered as the red Nomu started to rush at All Might. Damn it. I'm sorry, everyone. No one's POV, everyone could only watch in terror as the red Nomu rushed to All Might. They were all bloody and beaten to the ground at the floor on the ground. No one was dead, but everyone was severely injured and bloodied. Before the Nomu could reach All Might, it was suddenly kicked by a figure that caused a large cloud of dust to form. You guys been doing some bad things while I've been gone. A voice spoke from the dust. That voice. You're. All Might said before the dust blew away. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬. In the middle of the dust cloud was Izuku with an emotionless expression, but deep inside, his BLD was boiling. I'm stopping you now. Izuku finished as everyone looked in shock. Izuku stood there in the middle of the USJ, wearing his white straitjacket and muzzle, facing the League of Villains, prepared for a massacre. Everyone could see Izuku standing in the middle of the dust cloud in his white jacket and some sort of muzzle. A dreadful silence filled the air as the atmosphere turned thick. Now then. Izuku said, his dull green right eye fully opened and filled with anger. Let's see what happened here. Izuku said as he took his arms out from his jacket. Searchlight. Izuku shouted, pointing his finger to Shigaraki. A small white light arrow came out from his fingertip before it shot out, hitting Shigaraki in the neck before also hitting the other League of Villain members, then the teachers and then the students. So that's what happened. Izuku said as he put back his hands into the jacket's pockets. What the hell did you just do, brat? Shigaraki shouted at Izuku. Isn't obvious? I invaded through your minds to see what happened here. Now that I know, it's time to pay. Izuku answered before his voice turned slightly demonic, scaring everyone, including the villains. If you think that you can beat us, brat, then you're delusional. My Nomus here were able to beat All Might, Eraserhead, Vlad King, the Big Three, Class 1A and B. What are the chances that you can beat us? Shigaraki shouted at Izuku arrogantly. Izuku didn't answer, his head hung low. That's what I thought. Shigaraki said. Huh, what? Sorry, I fell asleep because of your boring speech. My bad. Izuku said as his head turned back up as his eye blinked continuously. Gia. Nomus, kill that DMN brat. Shigaraki commanded as the 3 rushed at Izuku at high speeds. 2 of them managed to get to Izuku quickly and tried to hit him. Try. Izuku easily avoided that attack by getting to the top of the USJ, where many of the students were at. Everyone okay here? He asked with his monotone voice. What the hell are you doing here, Deku, you traitor? You think trying to help us make you a hero? Huh? Bakugo shouted at Izuku. So they still don't know. Izuku thought. Well, might as well let Nezu explain to them. Izuku thought. Well, I think it's time to have some fun with your 𝐻𝐿 Shigaraki. If they can all take on everyone here for several minutes, let's see how long it can handle me. Izuku said as he walked down the stairs and took off his jacket and muzzle and throwing them to the side, showing his orange prison jacket. Not the best outfit to fight in, so. Snap, Izuku snapped his fingers as a flash of light covered him. When the light disappeared, Izuku was no longer in his prison jacket. He had a large axe at his back, a golden sword by his side, a three-sided staff also by his side and a small pouch next to the staff. This is more like it, Izuku said, satisfied with his outfit. Now then. Izuku continued, returning to the main reason he was there. I think it's to pa dash. Boom, the first purple 𝐻𝐿 got behind Izuku and punched him, creating a dust cloud. 𝐬𝐮𝐿𝐴, you arrogant brat. Shigaraki shouted. You know, it's rude to interrupt someone as they talk. Izuku's voice can be heard spoken from above. Izuku could be seen floating above the 𝐻𝐿. As the 𝐻𝐿 looked up, it was suddenly spin-kicked in the face, sending it to the other side of the USJ. The hell? Shigaraki shouted, seeing the 𝐻𝐿 reach the other side of the USJ. Well, that's one down. 2 to go. Izuku said, landing from kicking the purple 𝐻𝐿. Kill that brat now. Shigaraki commanded his 2 other 𝐻𝐿s. Play if you're like me and need epic music whenever there's gonna be a fight scene. The 2 𝐻𝐿s rushed Izuku only for him to dodge the barrage of punches that the 𝐻𝐿s sent. Izuku punched the 4-armed 𝐻𝐿 in the stomach area as he punched it continuously at extreme speeds, making All Might's barrage of punches in the first USJ attack look like child play and sending the 𝐻𝐿 moving back as Izuku follows, continuing his barrage. Just pay attention to the first part when Goku punches Jiren, like how Izuku would punch the 𝐻𝐿 in the stomach. As Izuku continued to punch the 4-armed 𝐻𝐿, the creature had its back against a wall, literally. The creature was exhausted and didn't move because of Izuku's barrage of punches. Izuku walked slowly to the multi-armed creature who had its head hung low, arms twitching and breathing heavy as it started to kneel on one leg. Izuku stopped as he saw the 𝐻𝐿, tired and heavily injured. Izuku raised his feet high as he slammed it with incredible speed and force on the 𝐻𝐿's head. The strike created a large dust cloud as pieces of rock and debris flew throughout the entire USA. Everyone looked in shock as they saw the emerald-haired child with bandages covering his left eye slam his feet to a 𝐻𝐿's head and causing a gigantic dust cloud and create massive air pressure. The force of Izuku's attack managed to blow away several fake trees, blow away the ship from the flood zone and the most of its water, destroy several buildings from the conflagration zone and the downpour, and break the glass dome around the USJ. What the F is this power? He's a Fing monster. Shigaraki screamed as he covered his eyes with his hands. The hell? Bakugo shouted as he covered his eyes with hands too. Even All Might was blew away from the immense air pressure. As the dust cloud blew away and the air pressure went down, Izuku can be seen in front of the 4-armed 𝐻𝐿. Everyone felt a shiver went down their spine as they saw the state of the 𝐻𝐿. It was lying in the ground, not moving. Its hands were limp and its entire body was not moving, not even twitching. The part that made everyone's eyes widen like dinner plate was the 𝐻𝐿's head. The creature's head was literally obliterated to the point it looked like someone took a sledgehammer and repeatedly smashed a watermelon more than 100 times. Izuku could be seen looking at the 𝐻𝐿, eye cold and devoid of any emotion. As he turned his back, the 2 other 𝐻𝐿s can be seen in front of Izuku with their fists reeled back ready to hit the emerald-haired child. Kill him! Shigaraki shouted. Before the 𝐻𝐿s got the chance to hit Izuku, he got out his sword from its handle. Divine 1,000 slices. Izuku shouted. The 2 𝐻𝐿s got sliced into bits by Izuku using Lost Vein. The attack was so fast, the 2 𝐻𝐿s didn't even get to hit Izuku. The 𝐻𝐿s bits fell to the ground with a splat sound. Izuku kept Lost Vein as he walked to Shigaraki, who kept quiet. Behind Izuku, the 𝐻𝐿s were slowly regenerating. The two nomes that got sliced were regenerating at a slow but quick pace, while the nomu whose face got completely wrecked by Izuku was slowly, very slowly, regenerating. Its face slowly morphing back as it slowly rise up from the ground. Shigaraki, Toga, Dabi and Kurogiri, who can see the nomus regeneration, kept quiet as they thought Izuku couldn't hear the nomus regeneration. Izuku though could hear it and already knew why the League of Villains were quiet. Why are they so quiet? Kirishima asked his friends. I don't know. Sato replied. Wait. Nijire thought as her face went from confusion to fear. Izuku behind you. Nijire screamed as she figured out the League of Villains plan. The three nomus rushed at Izuku with great speed. Now end him. Shigaraki shouted as he smiled evilly. Izuku, already knowing the nomus plan to attack him, swiftly dodged a blow to his head by the green nomu by back-flipping behind the nomu before sending a barrage of punches to its back and then sending the hideous beast a powerful blow to the back, sending it through several mountains at the mountain zone. With the purple nomu running at him, he dodged several blows before deciding to block the attacks with his palm. Nomu has him on the ropes. He can't do anything but block his attacks. Shigaraki shouted confidently. I wonder if I could help Felix with making that diss track. Izuku thought as he continued blocking the nomus barrage of attacks. Izuku then proceeded to dodge an attack by the purple nomu, then countering with devastating blow to the blow that went through the nomu. Like how Gohan punched through Bojack in A2, Izuku retracted his fist before high-kicking the nomu in the jaw, sending it high. Izuku quickly moved above the nomu and hammered the nomu in the gut, sending it to another part of the US. The last one was the four-armed nomu, whose head has fully regenerated. The nomu charged at Izuku and tried to claw him with his upper left arm, only for Izuku to easily dodge the attack. Izuku continued to dodge the attacks before elbowing the creature in its left jaw. Izuku swiftly moved behind the nomu as it moved back in pain. Izuku skillfully slide-kicked the nomu's feet, causing the creature to fall as Izuku quickly moved aside. The second part, when the nomu fell, a dust cloud emerged. The cloud disappeared as quickly as it came as Izuku grabbed the nomu's upper right arm and began spinning the nomu. After spinning the beast for approximately 13 seconds, he proceeded to throw the nomu to a nearby mountain with great strength. The nomu was sent through many mountains before stopping. Izuku's breath became slightly rapid from throwing the nomu. They're not dead, but that will give me some time to recover a bit. Izuku thought between breaths. Growling, Kurogiri, bring sensei here. If there's one thing I want done here, is that brat dies. No matter what. Shigaraki told Kurogiri, who nodded and warped away. So you're gonna send in all for one, huh? That's gonna be fun. Izuku said, gaining back his breath. If you think that you can beat sensei, then you're more delusional than ever. Shigaraki shouted. Suddenly a large void appeared and out came All for One. So you're the reason I was called. Izuku Midoriya. All for One said. Izuku looked at All for One with a menacing glare as a dreadful silence filled the room yet again. Out of nowhere the three nomus came flying at Izuku at high speeds. Izuku obviously dodged the sneak attack by floating high quickly. Izuku saw from above that All for One had his hand out glowing a bright shade of red. You used telekinesis to bring the three nomus to hit me from where they were at when I beat them. Nice sneak attack, but it's not gonna work on me. Izuku said from above. Now to get rid of these pests. Summon sacred treasure, spirit spear 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨. Izuku shouted as a long spear appeared next to Izuku. The spear. That'll be nice to have. All for One says as he held his hand to where 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 was and used his telekinesis on the spear. The spear didn't move an inch by All for One's telekinesis, confusing All for One. What? All for One shouted in confusion. If you think you're just gonna take 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨, then you're dead wrong. Izuku says seriously. Now then. Spirit Spear 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨, fourth configuration, Sunflower. Izuku shouted as 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨 disappeared in a blue light and the ground started to shake. What the hell? Dabi shouted in confusion as he tried to stay balanced. While everyone was confused and afraid of what the shaking was, Izuku continued floating as he looked down at the villains. his face devoid of any emotion and his dull green right eye watching the villains. The ground below them began to crack and the shaking worsened. Everyone could hear something emerging from the ground outside. The glass dome above the 𝐻𝐭𝐡𝐨 was suddenly covered by something. When everyone looked up, they were all terrified to see what it was. A giant flower charging a yellow beam. "See ya later," Izuku said as the small yellow beam shot out to the body of the 𝗏𝗏𝗡. Upon contact, the yellow beam exploded the ground and created yet another enormous dust cloud and completely obliterating the 𝗏𝗏𝗡. Not a single speck of them were left. When the beam was gone and the dust cloud blew away, nothing was left of the 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Every single cell of it had been eradicated. The villains and heroes all had a look of complete shock and horror. The large sunflower went away in a bright flash of blue light, as 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 returned back to Izuku. "You know, I could have obliterated all of you with that attack, but I'm not gonna blow up the entire city," Izuku said nonchalantly as he floated back down to the ground. I see why 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 called me now. If you think that you can beat me, then you're sadly mistaken. Before All For One could finish, Izuku moved his left fist into All For One's gut. "Careful All For One, your Vegeta's showing," Izuku said coldly as he looked at All For One's face, which had contorted to one of pain and shock. Izuku then uppercut All For One in the chin, sending him up high. Izuku jumped to All For One and hammered him in the back, causing him crash into the ground. Izuku landed on his feet as he looked at the crater with All For One. "Now this will be interesting," All For One said as he teleported a sword into his hand while standing and walking away from the crater. As All For One proceeded to rush at Izuku, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 suddenly struck All For One from above. Luckily for All For One, he managed to block the attack with his sword but with obvious struggle. Izuku then proceeded to control 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 with his hands and tried to hit All For One as he continued to block the attacks. Izuku continued his attacks but looked very bored while doing so. As Izuku manipulated 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 with his hand, 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 rushed at Izuku from behind. "Burn in hell you bastard!" 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 shouted as he shot out his flames at Izuku from point-blank range. A large explosion was created, and so was a large amount of smoke from 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘's attack. There's no way he could have survived that attack. "My flames are so strong, almost everything that get hit by it would turn to ash," 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 said, smiling arrogantly and sadistically. "You call those flames?" Izuku's voice could be heard in the large smoke. What the dash, before 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 could finish, a hand covered in black and purple flames was right in his face. The flame shot out at his face, causing the fire user to fly and collide to a nearby large piece of debris. The black flames burned and stained 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘's clothes, but didn't go away. 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, what the hell were those black flames? And why are they not coming off? And most importantly, how did you survive that attack, brat? 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 shouted in between coughs as he rose from the wall and trying to brush away the flames. "The only question I'm answering is that I moved away from the area that your attack would reach me. So in the time frame between you readying to shoot your flames and when it was shot out, I moved 5 meters away from where I already was. I then got behind you in the smoke and shot my flames at you," Izuku said as walked to where 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 was still trying to hit All For One. As Izuku watched All For One trying to block 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's attacks, he avoided an attack from 𝗂𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏 to the head and elbowed the blue-haired villain in the gut, causing him to cough up blood and kneel to the ground holding his gut. Izuku then roundhouse kicked 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the jaw, thus sending him flying. Izuku quickly moved to match 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's speed and dragged his face through the ground before throwing his body to a nearby wall. "Let's end this," Izuku said as he rose his hand before dropping it. On command, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝗡𝐨𝗫 rose up high before falling down and striking All For One's blade full force. The strike from 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝗡𝐨𝗫 managed to break All For One's sword and pushed him back a few feet. All For One shouted as he was pushed back. "Take this," Izuku screamed as he held his hand to All For One's direction. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝗡𝐨𝗫 then came back to Izuku before U-turning back to All For One. All For One didn't manage to dodge the incoming attack and got a cut to his left shoulder. Izuku smiled slightly as he made 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝗡𝐨𝗫 return to him. "What are you smiling at, brat? You only gave me a small cut. Nothing more," All For One said arrogantly. Status promotion. Izuku shouted. Suddenly, All For One felt the pain on his left shoulder increase. The cut on All For One's left shoulder became larger and deeper, with blood gushing out of the wound. All For One screamed as he held his left shoulder. What's wrong? I thought you said it was a small cut. 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴 mockingly but still had his I don't care look on his face. No more games. All For One shouted as he healed his wound with a regeneration quirk. Hiya! All For One screamed as he started to grow in size as red lightning covered his body. As All For One grew, everyone watched in horror, except Izuku and the villains. The villains since All For One was gonna go all out. Izuku because he had been holding back almost all his power and was just testing his new power and just having fun in general. Yawn, can you hurry it up? I'm starting to get sleepy. Izuku said as he yawned. Cocky little bastard. All For One said as he stopped growing. His body had grown triple the size, with his mutated large arm from his battle with All Might looking perfectly normal. It's time to die. Izuku Midoriya. All For One shouted as he slammed his right fist to where Izuku was at, creating another dust cloud and crater. Now this is more like it. Izuku said as he was now on All For One's fist, managing to dodge his previous attack. Izuku quickly ran up All For One's right arm to his shoulder before taking out 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴 and slashing a large wound from his chest to his neck. All For One then managed to slap Izuku to the ground as Izuku fell from his previous attack. Izuku managed to fall on his feet, just before All For One repeatedly stomped his feet at Izuku. I'll crush you. 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 All For One repeatedly said after each stomp. Izuku! Shouted Neji as everyone watched in shock as the green-haired boy continued to be stomped on. As All For One continued his stomping, he was suddenly uppercut in the chin, sending him back several feet. Izuku then can be seen on the floor landing from his attack on All For One, but his suit torn and messy. Not bad. But now, I'm more stronger than you. Any more good strikes on you, and you're dead. All For One shouted victoriously. This is bad, you guys. We must help him. Kirishima shouted to his classmates. Why the hell should we help shitty Deku? He's a traitor and should die for his sins. Bakugo shouted angrily. Not bad, you held your own against my clone. Izuku's voice can be heard from all the dust. Izuku can be then seen walking to his clone from all the dust. Upon reaching his clone, the clone disappeared, causing everyone's eyes to widen. Here's a fun fact. Izuku said, looking at All For One with a slight smirk as he took out 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴. 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴 has a unique ability called Physical Clone. It allows me to create about 4 clones. Depending on how many clones I make, their power differs. If I create 1, then their power would be half of mine. If I create 4, they will be about 8 times weaker than I am. Meaning the one you fought and had trouble with was only half my power. Izuku said as he looked at All For One's terrified face as he stepped back a bit and had a smile on him. What's wrong? Hey, say something, All For One. Izuku asks All For One as he had his smile on his. All For One, however, was sweating bullets and his body was shaking to the care. Seeing that arrogant face of yours go from hopeful to despair. Well, there's nothing that could make me happier. Izuku said as his voice went from cheerful to demonic within seconds. His smile turned into a smirk and a weird mark appeared on Izuku's forehead. Let's end this, All For One. What do you say? This time, I'll make sure to obliterate you from this world. Izuku said with his smirk and head tilted slightly. Izuku Midoriya. Whatever the hell you are. There's nothing that will kill me. All For One shouted as he raised his right arm ready to crush Izuku. With tremendous speed, Izuku jumped and literally pierced through his chest like a bullet and came out to the other end. This caught everyone, especially All For One, off guard. Izuku then came back and continued his onslaught on All For One, becoming a human bullet and shooting through All For One in rapid succession and speed. Blood spewed out from every hole that Izuku's attacks made. After completely wrecking All For One and made him a human cheese, Izuku landed on the floor, causing the ground below to crack and rocks and tiles to fly out. All for One vomited large amounts of blood before turning to look at Izuku. Yo, you bastard. All for One said before stumbling and decreasing in size and kneeling on the ground in immense pain. He managed to bring down All for One to his knees like it was nothing. Kaminari shouted in surprise. How the hell did he do that? Bakugo shouted. That amount of power. It's mind-boggling. Todoroki said as he stood up from the ground and helped out Momo and his friends. Amazing. All Might managed to say whilst holding up Aizawa and bringing him to a nearby wall to rest. Is this young Midoriya's quirk? All Might thought as he went to help Vlad King. The League of Villains has been hiding in the dark planning our moves for years. While you were all playing hero, we waited in the dark, planning our revenge against society. All for says as he had his head down looking in the ground in pain, coughing blood. As he spoke, Izuku slowly walked to All for One before stopping in front of him. As All for One looked up, he saw Izuku standing in front of him. Izuku then tapped his right hand to All for One's left cheek, surprising and confusing him. Izuku said as his smirk turned into a smile, before beach slapping All for One, sending him flying several meters away and getting stuck into a crater he made. Don't die yet. Izuku said as his smile returned to a smirk, and he continued walking to All for One. I am the leader of the League of Villains and the symbol of evil. All for One shouted as he got up from the crater. In all honesty, you're probably one of the weakest villains in all of history. You're nothing but an ant to villains of the past. Izuku said with a cocky smile as he stopped in front of All for One. Shut up, you brat. I am the strongest villain on this planet and in history. Rah! All for One shouted before floating and shouting with his hands clamped together. His body let out sparks of red lightning as the wind pressure started to blow away nearby debris. You know what? If I'm gonna die, then everyone here will die too. All for One screamed as the sparks became thicker and the wind pressure worsened. All for One's statement terrified everyone, including the villains. Sensei, what about us? Shigaraki screamed to All for One. Didn't you say that you wanted this brat to die no matter what? If so, then you'll die with him. Wah. All for One replied as he then laughed maniacally. Damn it. That maniac's gonna kill us all. Monoma screamed in fear. Is this the end? Momo asked in between tears. Deku-kun, please save us. Uraraka said as she cried. All for One then lifted his hands revealing a large purple energy sphere. The sphere then started to increase in size dramatically as time passed. Soon the sphere was almost double the size of All for One. Mwah! This blast attack may kill me, but it will definitely kill you. All for One screamed sadistically. Will you just die already? I'm starting to get sleepy. Izuku said lazily to All for One. Is Midoriya really gonna let him kill us all? Kaminari screamed in fear. He wouldn't. Shoji managed to say. All the others could only watch or cry in fear. Will they all die? Time to die! Screamed All for One. Everyone prepared for their possibly eventual death. Is this it? Everyone thought. But all for Izuku. Take this. Obliteration flash. All for One screamed as he brought down his hand. The purple sphere shooting a large beam purple that was far bigger than Izuku. Counter. Izuku shouted as he took out Lost Vein and used True Counter, the evolved form of Full Counter. The beam was then stopped, before shooting back at All for One but faster and stronger than before. All for One couldn't react quickly enough before being engulfed by the attack. What the hell? All for One screamed as he was engulfed by his own attack. No. I can't lose now. I'm the strongest being in the multiverse, All for One said as he was trying to survive his attack. His voice showing struggle, his body being obliterated and his words becoming stretched out. All for said his last words before being killed by his own attack. All for One's blast then proceeded to exit the USJ, and soon the atmosphere and into space. Well, he's dead, now to take care of the rest. Izuku said as his demonic mark vanished, his right eye turning back from black to its dull green. Izuku then proceeded to dodge a knife that was thrown at him by tilting his head left. Izuku looked at the person who threw each knife to see Himiko Toga holding yet another knife. Almost forgot about her. Izuku thought. Let's dance 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 as she rushed at Izuku. Izuku sighed as he dodged several slashes aimed at him by Toga. Let's end this quick. I want to sleep. Izuku said as he jumped back several feet and let out his hand. Snish. He screamed. Toga's knife suddenly flew to Izuku, surprising the blonde girl. Out of Toga's jacket pocket also came out 2 vials of BLD. No! Screamed Toga as she tried to grab the vials of BLD. The knife was then caught by Izuku in his left hand before grabbing the 2 vials with his right hand. There goes your disguises, Izuku said as he dropped his hand down. Izuku threw the knife to a part of the USJ and putting the 2 vials in the pockets of his breathes. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Teleport us all away. No. Shigaraki shouted as he got out of the wall. Why yes sir. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 replied. Oh no you don't. Izuku said as he then teleported in front of 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. In front of Izuku was a floating crystal ball. You're not escaping me. Endless whirl. Izuku shouted as a large whirlpool of purple wind was created, skiing 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 to the middle of the tornado, where Aldan was at. Being 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 into the middle. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 managed to say before Izuku trapped the void creator into an empty vial and putting a cork into it, closing the vial. I know 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 has a physical body, but let's say 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 somewhat shrinked with the endless whirl. There goes your ride. Izuku said as he floated down, face devoid of any emotion as he looked at Toga, Shigaraki and Dabi. Now then. Izuku said as he summoned 𝗏𝗏𝗏 almost instantly. Blackout arrow. Izuku shouted as 3 black arrow made of energy hit the 3 villains. The villains who were not quick enough to react to the attack were hit by the energy arrows and fell unconscious. There goes today's problem. Izuku said as he made 𝗏𝗏𝗏 go away and teleported to where everyone was at. Everyone okay here? He asked everyone. The F you want Deku? Doesn't mean you beat the villains you're a hero. Screamed Bakugo as he created explosions. Broadcast. Izuku shouted as he shot a light arrow at everyone. What was dash before Kendo could finish, she was interrupted by Izuku. Broadcast allows me to quickly send instructions to anyone I want. The move before, searchlight, allows me to look and listen to the thoughts and memories to whoever my attacks is used upon. When I used searchlight before, I found the memory of Toga using her quirk to turn into me and steal the files from Nezu's office. So when I used broadcast, I send all of you the memory of Toga stealing the files. Therefore showing all of you my innocence. Izuku explained to everyone. The USJ then opened to show Nezu and the other teachers. Where's the villains? Nezu asked panicked. Don't worry Nezu. Shigaraki, Toga and Dabi are unconscious over there. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 is stuck in this vial and all for one has been obliterated. Izuku said nonchalantly as he pointed to the unconscious villains and then showing Nezu the vial keeping his endless whirl that kept 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Thank you Izuku. And wait, did you say all for one is dead? Nezu asked surprised and thankful. Yes. You can ask any of them if you want. Izuku told Nezu as he pointed to Class 1A, Class 1B, the Big 3, All Might, Aizawa and Vlad King. Now then. Healing. Izuku shouted as the area around the heroes was covered in a bright white light. My wounds are healing. Jairu said surprised as her wounds were healing. All of our wounds are healing. Tetsu said surprised and amazed. Amazing. All Might thought when he suddenly felt his wound from years ago healing. He raised his shirt showing his wound that was healing. Amazing. Nezu/All Might/Recovery Girl said amazed that the wound that no medicine could help heal was healing from a child's ability. And my wound? It's fully healed. All Might said elated as he felt himself heal. Thank you young Midoriya. All Might said to Midoriya as he looked at him with his signature smile. Izuku remained silent as he stopped the light and walked out of the USJ, face devoid of emotion nor care. I'm gonna go rest in a forest. Bye. Izuku said as he looked at everyone before teleporting away. Everyone only watched as they saw their friend teleport away. No one knew what that power was when he fought those villains. All they knew was that their friend was innocent and was back. Suddenly, everyone was then hit with a wall of guilt, remembering what they said and did to him when he was accused of stealing the files from Nezu's office. The ones who were affected the most were All Might, Ochako and Aizawa. All Might and Aizawa because despite Izuku being their student, they barely tried to prove his innocence when he was accused. Ochako because she knew she broke or cracked Izuku's heart when she shouted him, Let's take the villains to the prison. Nezu managed to say as everyone nodded. He looked in his palm to see the 3 vials that Izuku gave him. 2 had vials of BLD while the other had a mini tornado in it. Izuku, we're sorry. Everyone thought as they remembered their actions to the green-haired boy. Izuku can be seen teleporting into a forest. Today's been tiring. Might as well rest for a while. Izuku said as he lay on a tree. He placed Rita, 𝐴𝐿 and 𝐴𝐻𝐿 next to him, along with his white jacket and muzzle from the prison. As he lay on the tree, he thought about what had happened that day. The USJ attack, his release and his kill of All for One. He also remembered what he did when he used Searchlight before. While he used the attack, he not only viewed what had happened before he came to the USJ, but also what they thought when he was accused of stealing the files. Whilst most of them believed that he was the traitor, only one person believed in his innocence. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. When he looked into her memories, he saw that 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 believed that Izuku was innocent. His face began to heat a bit and made a small blush. Although the blush was barely visibly on his emotionless face, it was there. She really looks like Elizabeth. He thought as his blush went away. What's wrong, Izuku? Do you have a crush? 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐸𝐴's voice can be heard. 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐸𝐴's. Is that you? Where are you? Izuku asked as he stood up. Don't worry, Izuku. We're in your mindscape. That means that we are in your mind. We can hear your thoughts and talk to you in your mind. Merlin spoke in his mind. That makes sense, I guess. I guess now I won't always be alone. The green-yellow-haired boy thought. Anyways, we're proud of you, Izuku. You managed to defeat the villains and protected your friends, despite what they did and said. 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐸𝐴's said to Izuku proudly at what he did. Thanks, 𝐿𝐿𝐴𝐸𝐴's, but it's thanks to you guys I was able to take the villains down. It's because of what you taught me at Prison Z that I was able to take those villains down. Izuku said to his mentors. Either way, I think it's time you go back to school, Izuku. Merlin spoke this time. Well, okay. I guess that's enough rest. Izuku said aloud as he got up and kept his weapons. He snapped his fingers and a light covered him. The light dimmed, showing him wearing a different set of clothes instead of his previous suit. His jacket and muzzle also missing from where it already was. Izuku's current clothes, that's better. Izuku said. I think I better go to Nezu's office. Izuku said before teleporting to Nezu's office. In another room in Nezu's office had All Might in his skinny form, Aizawa and Nezu. They were discussing about the current events and about Izuku. We need to put Izuku back in class when he returns. He still has to continue his hero studies. Nezu informed that's true. Even though he took out the League of Villains on his own, he still needs to continue his studies to become a pro hero. Aizawa said, All Might, do you want to give back Izuku one for all? Nezu asked All Might. Yes, he is the one most worthy to inherit one for all. I'm sure he wants to have it back. All Might said with a smile. Now then, let's get to the most important question. How should W-? I heard people talk about me, Izuku interrupted Aizawa as he suddenly appeared in the middle of the room. Ah. The trio shouted in shock. Did I interrupt something? The dual-haired boy asked. Well, somewhat. Aizawa said, calming down from Izuku's jump scare. Young Midoriya. All Might said as he walked to Izuku. Izuku's face looked at All Might, devoid of emotion or care. This sent a slight shiver to rise the original number hero's spine. Why, young Midoriya, we would like to apologize about our rash decision to put you in prison without watching the other security footage. Young Midoriya, would you re-accept my quirk, one for all? All Might asked as he plucked out a strand of hair. Izuku remained silent as he looked at All Might in the face blankly. So do you accept? All Might asked again. No. Izuku said coldly, surprising the pro-heroes. 𝗧𝗏. But you are the most worthy to dash. All Might was interrupted. Do you expect me to accept something that was taken back from me? Do you expect me to want something that you, the person that I admired, would give me after not having a single piece of faith that I didn't steal the files? Do you really think I want the quirk that the person I used to admired after betraying me is offering me? Do you? Izuku said as his voice was filled with venom and spite. All Might didn't say a word. He remained silent and had his head hung low. Everything Izuku said, it was true. He didn't believe that Izuku was innocent. That's what I thought. Izuku said. Now then, what am I supposed to do? Izuku asked as he turned his head from All Might to Nezu. For now I guess you can do whatever you want. Nezu said. Okay. Bye. Izuku said before teleporting away. Izuku can be seen teleporting into a pyramid in Egypt. In front of him had an amulet with a red jewel in the middle. Is this the amulet, Merlin? Izuku asked Merlin in his mind. Yes, it is. It will allow you to control 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 ability. Merlin told Izuku. Okay then. Izuku thought as he took the amulet. Any boobay traps? He asked as he wore the amulet. Nothing. Izuku said as he teleported away to a mountainous area. Now let's see whether this work. Izuku said as he activated sunshine. The amulet glowed a bright red as he activated his ability, sunshine. Suddenly, Izuku's body was covered in a bright red aura. Amazing. Izuku said as he looked at his body. Although his body did not grow in size, he could feel himself get stronger when he activated sunshine. This amulet is amazing. Not only does it allow me to control sunshine better, it doesn't decrease my speed nor muscle mass. Not to mention that it looks badass. Izuku said as he smirked. Well, I think it's time I go to UA again. Izuku said as he deactivated sunshine and teleported back to Nezu's office, this time outside the door. Knock knock knock, come in. Nezu sighed as Izuku opened the door. Oh Izuku, what do you want to talk about? Nezu asked the dual-haired teenager. May I go back to the dorm now? I have nothing to do but sleep, but I have nowhere to sleep. Izuku informed. How about your home? Nezu asked. Izuku's face morphed to one of slightly sad. His head hung low as tears threatened to come out. My mom is dead. Izuku managed to say. What? Nezu asked, shocked at the sudden news. Back in my prison, the guards told me that my mom had died. According to what they said, her body was on the floor and her head was gone. Next to the body was lots of dust. Izuku managed to say as tears went down his cheeks. I see. I'm sorry for your loss. Nezu said sympathetically. Sniff, it's okay. May I go now? Izuku asked between sniffles. Yes, you may. Nezu told the boy as he nodded. This child. Nezu thought sympathetically and pitifully. As Izuku walked to the dorm, he wiped the tears away and gained back his composure. In the dorms, phew. Thank God Mr. Aizawa gave us a break today. Kaminari said as he lay down on the couch with a bowl of popcorn. I agree with you, Kaminari, with the villain's attack today. Ida said as he sat down on a chair. Whoa, Ida. I didn't expect you to be happy for a break. Kirishima said a bit surprised as he joined Kaminari. In the dorms, Class 1A was sitting in the living room watching a movie. After the USJ incident, the students were given the rest of the day to rest. They all decided to watch a movie for the rest of the day. Everyone was in the living room, even Bakugo and Todoroki. They all decided to watch Frozen and Infinity War. After watching Infinity War, they were about to start with Frozen when the door of the dorm suddenly opened. This caught everyone's attention to see who it was to see Izuku Midoriya entering the dorms. As Izuku walked in, he saw everyone's eye on him. Despite this, he continued walking to his room to sleep. Nobody said a word. Deku-kun. Uraraka's voice can be heard. Izuku tilted his head to see the class looking in him. Some even had tears in her eyes. Izuku asked, uninterested. Why are there bandages covering your left eye? Uraraka asked as tears fell. Well, Uraraka. Izuku said as he stretched out each syllable in Uraraka's name. If you want to know. As I was in prison Z, the prisoners enjoyed to torture and abuse me. In the 3rd to 4th week, the prisoners made a dagger and stabbed me in the left eye. Thanks to the help of the guards that believed in my innocence, they sent me to the medic and helped with my left eye. Sadly, I lost my left eye. Because of all that abuse and torment, my emerald eyes became dull green and instead of eyes it became eye. Now you would excuse me, I want to go and sleep. Explained Izuku before he walked off. Everyone had tears in their eyes. Little or not, tears was in their eyes. It was because of them that Izuku was sent to prison for no reason. It was because of them that he lost his left eye. It was because of them that he looked and sounded so broken. Guilt hit them like a wall. Izuku, we're so sorry. They all thought. In Izuku's room, he observed his entire room. Currently regretting his choice of making his entire room filled with all might. This is from 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 on Tumblr. I'm not gonna let myself see all of this every day. Izuku said as he snapped his fingers and all of his All Might merch and posters disappeared. Izuku then got to work and started to redecorate his room. Hours later, phew, I'm done with that. Izuku said, wiping a trail of sweat from his forehead. Much better. He said as he lay on his bed and slowly fell asleep. I don't want to leave. Izuku's last thought before drifting to sleep. The next day, beep, beep, be-dash-boom. Izuku's alarm was suddenly sent to the wall. Izuku's hand can be seen stretched out and his fingers can be seen glowing green. Shut the F up. Izuku said lazily as he stood up and stretched out before picking up his clock. 2 hours before school. I might as well get ready. The dual-haired male said as he went to bathe. After 20 minutes, Izuku came out of his room wearing the UA uniform but with his tie tied perfectly and how it should be and also a red scarf covering his neck. If you want, you can just imagine Mikasa's scarf from Attack on Titan with his yellow bag. He went to make himself some breakfast before school. He made a plate of fried rice for himself and proceeded to eat his breakfast. Thank God Ban taught me how to cook instead of Meliodas. Who knew what could happen? Izuku thought as he ate his food. I heard that, Izuku. Meliodas shouted within his head. And I'm grateful you thought so, Izuku. Thanks. Ben also said. I forgot you guys were in my head. Well, I guess I have someone to talk to while I wait for class to start. Izuku thought as he finished his food and washed his plate. As Izuku walked to UA, he thought about how he would explain his powers to his class. Nah, F it. I'll just explain them however I want. Izuku said, not giving SHT anymore. He opened the door to his class and sat down. Peace and quiet. Izuku thought as he rested his head on his table. I think it's best if do something than rest, Izuku. King said through his mind. Izuku said as he reluctantly stood up and started to stretch to wake himself up. Well, might as well play around. Izuku said as he started playing around with his powers. Ha! Izuku shouted as he concentrated his demon magic onto his right and goddess to his left. His left hand started to glow a heavenly white and his right start to glow a dark black as his demonic mark appeared. As he continued, the glow started to disappear and 2 small balls appeared above his hands. A small glowing white ball in his left and a dark black ball above his right. Phew, that was more tiring than I thought. Izuku said as he sat down. Fight. Izuku shouted as the 2 balls started to fly around the room and continued to clash with each other, making small sparks. This is surprisingly fun to watch. Izuku said as he continued to watch the 2 balls clashing with each other. After several minutes of watching the 2 balls clash against each other, he heard the door to his class open, alerting the yellow and green-haired teenager. In an instant he made the 2 balls go away in an instant. Well, maybe we could dash. Ida stopped mid-sentence when he saw Izuku sitting in his sit drawing in his sketchbook. Deku-kun. Uraraka exclaimed as she ran to Izuku. Izuku continued drawing on his sketchbook, not even looking nor paying attention to his friends. Cough cough. Deku-kun, she asked concerned as she stopped in front of the twin-haired teen. What do you want? Izuku asked, not even looking at the brunette. Uraraka was sent back by how Izuku said that. It sounded full of venom and suppressed anger. Uraraka had tears threatening to come out. Ida, noticing her distress, went to help her out. Midoriya, we are save your sympathy for people that you really care for. Izuku said as he continued sketching several designs for capsules to keep his weapons. What Izuku said shocked the blue-haired. What Izuku said was like a complete 180 of what he would say when Ida would say sorry. Ida and Uraraka went to their seats in guilt as what they had done to their class's cinnamon roll. As more students entered the class, more people went to Izuku to ask for forgiveness, only for him to either ignore or completely turn them down with a comment that cracked their hearts. Well, until Bakugo came in. When the ash blonde came in, he saw Izuku sitting in his seat drawing in his sketchbook. Izuku was in deep concentration in sketching his capsules and items. To everyone, Izuku was just in deep concentration. To Bakugo, however, Izuku was ignoring him, making him angry. Deku, if you think that beating those villains mean that you're better than me, Bakugo said as he went to Izuku's desk. Then you're AFRE. The human C4 said as he slammed his palm into Izuku's desk, exploding the entire desk. Izuku, still not paying attention to Bakugo's bullshit, ignored Bakugo's comment and simply nodded and hummed. This angered the ash blonde, making him create an explosion at Izuku. Die! Bakugo screamed as he created explosions at Izuku, filling the room with smoke. You know, Katsuki, I wonder whether you have an actual thought process instead of having a bomb as a thought process. Izuku can be heard from Aizawa's desk. This sent shivers down everyone's spine. Izuku called Bakugo by his name, his first name instead of nickname. Not only that, but he insulted him with little to no care. Deku, you F. Bakugo shouted as he propelled himself at Izuku. Psi darkness immobilization. Izuku shouted as his demonic mark activated and his hand was stretched out. Red lightning sparked through his hand as a dark matter substance covered Izuku's hand. Suddenly, the dark matter was shot out as Bakugo. Bakugo was suddenly covered by the darkness and was sent to the floor, immobilized and covered by the darkness. Izuku then went to squat next to the ash blonde as he tried to struggle out of the darkness. Don't even try. It's nearly impossible to get out of my darkness. The twin-haired teen said, his voice sounding demonic. It's that voice. This sensation. It's the same as when he fought All for One. Everyone thought. The door of the class suddenly opened to show Aizawa in his sleeping bag. As he got out of his yellow sleeping bag, he saw Bakugo still covered in the darkness. What happened here? The sleep-deprived teacher asked. This talking walking bomb here entered the class, exploded my desk and then went to rush at me. So, I immobilized him in darkness. He won't be able to get out unless I says so. Izuku said as he got up from his squat and looked at Aizawa. Okay. Izuku, please release him. Bakugo, don't try to be aggressive or you're going to go to detention. Aizawa said as Izuku nodded. The darkness went back to Izuku as his demonic mark went away, his black-colored right eye turning back to dull green. He then went to take his sketchbook from Aizawa's desk and went to his seat. Bakugo gasped in exhaustion as he regained his breath. From the corner of his eye, he glared at Izuku as he went to his seat. A port. Izuku said in his seat as his broken desk disappeared and a new desk appeared. Now that's over. You will be having heroics today with the big three, the Pussycats and Eri and Koda for today. Aizawa said, surprising everyone except for Bakugo, Izuku and Todoroki since they didn't really care. As time passed, Izuku continued to pay attention in class since he already learned all of it with Merlin. It was like having the smartest person in college to do a test from kindergarten. As time passed, heroics class came. Everyone was excited as they get to practice to do heroics. Alright class, go and wear your costumes and meet at Gym Gamma. Aizawa said as he brought out all of the suitcases. Izuku just teleported to Gym Gamma and saw the Pussycats, All Might, the Big Three, Endeavor, Gran Torino, Recovery Girl and Eri and Koda. Sup? Izuku said, scaring a few. Why, young Midoriya? You came here faster than what we thought. All Might surprised. I can teleport. You idiot. Izuku said coldly but whispered the last part. Mr. Deku. The two young kids shouted as they ran to Izuku. Hey there, you two. I'm happy to see you too. Izuku said, smiling as he returned the hug from the duo. As time passed, more students came and soon everyone came in their hero costumes. Midoriya, how about your costume? Ida asked the twin-haired teen. Snap, Izuku snapped his fingers before being engulfed in a light. As the light passed, Izuku was in the same costume he wore as he fought All for One. So cool. Eri and Kota said as they had stars in their eyes. Mr. Deku, why are there bandages in your left eye? Eri asked, curious at the state of her hero's left eye. This obviously got the attention of the other pro heroes. The students, however, what was coming? Well, Eri, in prison. I was abused and tortured by the prisoners there. In the 3rd week I was there, they made a dagger and stabbed my left eye when I went to get food. The guards helped me and sent me to the medic where they got my eye patched up. Sadly, I lost my eye. But that's okay since I'm here now. Izuku said so cheerfully it sent the pro heroes and students a shiver down their spine. Wait, how about your new quirk, Midoriya? You have never showed any signs of anything similar in the past. Ida asked. Well, might as well tell them, Izuku. Meliodas told him. Izuku said. Well, my powers are not a quirk. Izuku said, surprising everyone. It's magic. Izuku continued. But magic is dash, Aizawa was interrupted. Let me finish. Many centuries ago, there lived creatures like fairies, demons, goddesses, giants, etc. During this time, magic existed in the world, and almost everybody could use it. As time passed, magic was forgotten and thought as fake. With the era of quirks starting, magic was forgotten, lost. During the time of magic, there were the 7 deadly sins. They consisted of the demon king Meliodas, the dragon sin of wrath, Ban the undead, the fox sin of greed, the fairy king Harlequin, the grizzly sin of sloth, the giant Diane, the serpent sin of envy, the original commandment of selflessness Gautha the doll, the goat sin of lust, the daughter of Belialuin Merlin, the boar sin of gluttony and Iskaner, the strongest human and lion sin of pride, and the supreme deity Elizabeth, the eagle sin of despair. I made Elizabeth as the eagle's sin up. Together they made up the 7 deadly sins. They were all some of the strongest beings on the planet and could probably destroy the entire land if they wanted. While I was in prison, in my dreams, they trained me to use magic and made me their successor. Thus, I was able to attain all their techniques and abilities and memories. Izuku explained. Everyone was beyond shock. Their friend was the successor of 8 of the strongest people in history and can use magic. W8, does that mean you're a demon? Mineta asked. I'm 1/4 demon, goddess, fairy and human. Not to mention I'm immortal and have tremendous control over magic. Izuku said, further surprising everyone. Does that mean you have wings? Nijire asked. Yes. I have fairy wings and goddess wings, but I don't choose to show them. That's the same reason for my eye. I don't really want to grow it back since it's like a scar to remind me of my time in prison. Izuku further explained, surprising everyone and making some guilty. Oh, Izuku, thought Nijire. And now then, we would be having several matches with each other for today's heroics lesson. You will be sparring with each other before fighting some of us pros. All Might explained, making some excited and some nervous. Alright, the matches will be Uraraka vs 𝐶𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 vs Jiraiya Kaminari vs Mineta Todoroki vs Ojiro Momo vs Ida Hagakure vs Mina Tokoyami vs Kota Kirishima vs 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴Oyama vs Sato Izuku vs Bakugo. All Might said. Alright, I can finally beat Deku's butt. Bakugo shouted in excitement. Izuku didn't care at all. The rules are simple. Whoever gets out of the zone is out. Whoever gets unconscious is also out, same for whoever gives up. Aizawa explained lazily. Alright, Uraraka and Azui, please get into the ring. All Might said as the two entered. I'm just gonna skip to the important battle Uraraka vs 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 vs 𝐺𝐼𝐻𝐵 Kaminari vs Mineta Kaminari Todoroki vs Ojiro Todoroki Momo vs Ida Hagakure vs Mina Tokoyami vs Kota Tokoyami Kirishima vs 𝐬𝐮𝐻𝐵 Kirishima Aoyama vs 𝐶𝑎𝑡𝑜. Alright young Midoriya, young Bakugo, please enter the ring. All Might said as the two entered. Better prepare yourself Izuku because you're dead. Bakugo shouted at the twin-haired. That pride is going to be your downfall. Izuku replied back as he got into a fighting stance. Alright, begin. All Might shouted as Bakugo launched himself at Izuku. Die! The ash blonde screamed. Izuku simply ducked the attack and grabbed Bakugo's leg and threw the explosion quirk user. Bakugo propelled himself up by using his explosion before landing safely. Gritting his teeth, the ash blonde rushed the twin hair yet again, but this time made himself move left then right before flying up using the momentum. Die 𝐿𝐵𝑠. Bakugo screamed as he blasted a large explosion at Izuku. Izuku simply looked up to see the incoming blast. Counter! Izuku shouted as he took Lost Vein and sliced the attack. Bakugo's attack was then sent back at Bakugo, who attempted to block his attack. The attack created a large explosion, filling the room with smoke. From the smoke, suddenly came Bakugo rushing down again as he attempted to explode Izuku. Izuku teleported away from the attack as he appeared on the opposite side of the ring. Summon Spirit Spear 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Fight fire with fire. Izuku shouted as he summoned 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. The spear was suddenly covered in a blue flash of light before appearing as 1,000 small daggers. The daggers was suddenly sent at Bakugo. Bakugo used his explosions to blow the daggers away from him. The daggers suddenly dropped to the floor. Huh? Is that all you got? Bakugo shouted triumphantly. Izuku smirked as he snapped his fingers. The daggers suddenly floated and spun around Bakugo, making him stuck within a storm of daggers. The F. Whatever. Die. The ash blonde screamed as he blasted an explosion at the daggers. Izuku smirked. The explosion was suddenly shot back at Bakugo when it came contact with the daggers. The hell? Bakugo screamed, confused at why his attack failed. Izuku said as he summoned Aldan. Exterminate Ray. Izuku shouted as the daggers created an opening for Izuku's attack. Aldan suddenly glowed purple as a purple ray was suddenly shot at Bakugo. Bakugo was engulfed in the attack and was sent back. The ray shot through the building's wall, creating a hole. As the ray disappeared, Bakugo can be seen slightly bloody, his costume in shreds and his arms in a cross from the attack. His breathing was heavy and he was breathing in exhaustion. It's good to see you not out of bounds. Izuku said. Breathe shut, breathe up. Breathe, Bakugo said between breaths. Psy healing ray. Izuku shouted as Aldan shot a white ray at Bakugo. The ray collided with Bakugo, who was covered in a white light. What surprised everyone was that Bakugo was healing. What? Bakugo said as he looked at his wounds to see that they disappeared, so did the tears in his costumes. He was and felt perfectly fine. I healed you. Now, give me the fight that we all wanted to see. Izuku said as he got into his fighting stance. Deku. If you're 𝐿𝐵, I'm not looking down on you, you idiot. I have never done that. From when we were kids, your ego made you make wrong choices. It's because of that that you've been losing to me. It's because of that enormous pride that your decisions are rash. You're smart, that's for sure. But with that pride bringing you down, it is easy for villains to use that to their advantage to hurt and to kill you. Now, how about you think your life decisions, get that pride in check, and quit wasting everyone's time and give us the fight that we want to see. Izuku said to Bakugo, a hint of annoyance and anger in his voice. Bakugo stayed silent. No one said anything. It was true. One's pride can be their downfall. The teacher all watched as their student teach his friend an important lesson. Fine. I understand. Let's go. Then. Bakugo said as he had a smile of thanks as tears fell from his eyes. Izuku smiled back as he got ready. Bakugo took a deep breath as he wiped the tears and shot explosions at Izuku. Earth barrier. Izuku shouted as he placed his hands on the earth as a large wall made of rock was created in front of him. The explosions collided with the wall, unable to break the attack. As the explosions collided with the wall, Bakugo moved to the side in the smoke and shouted a mega explosion at Izuku. Izuku quickly jumped up high enough to avoid the attack. Bakugo then flew up, ready to roundhouse kick the dual hair. Izuku easily blocked the attack before tossing the ash blonde to the floor. Bakugo managed to fall on his feet. Summon sacred treasure, Gideon. Izuku shouted as a giant war hammer suddenly appeared in the sky. What is that? Kirishima shouted. The hammer suddenly shrunk smaller as Izuku grabbed the hammer. Izuku dropped from the sky with Gideon in hand. Bakugo swiftly moved away from where he originally was as Izuku smashed Gideon into the ground before he raised his hand up, causing large pillars of stone to rise up from the ground. Bakugo managed to avoid each pillar by propelling himself with his explosions. Bakugo landed on one of the pillars before jumping to another pillar as the previous one was destroyed by a punch by Izuku. Izuku then proceeded to punch the other pillars that Bakugo landed on. As Bakugo was still in the air from his jump, Izuku created a fireball of Hellblaze and threw it at Bakugo. Bakugo then pulled the pin off his gauntlets. Out of the gauntlets came a powerful beam colliding with the fireball, both exploding on impact and creating a large cloud of smoke and dust. Minus the demonic mark, Bakugo then can be seen landing on the ground, breathing slightly. See the difference? Without that pride clouding your vision, your thoughts and movements become smoother and your actions are less rash and more thought of. If your behavior continue to be like this, your goal to become an amazing hero can come true. Izuku said with a smile. Thanks. But don't think you're gonna win. Bakugo said with a smile. Izuku smiled back at Bakugo. Bakugo decided to fly up and decided to end this quickly. Let's end this, Deku. Bakugo said whilst in the air. Alright then, Bakugo. Izuku shouted back. Howitzer impact. Bakugo screamed as he spun around and dived at Izuku, smoke and dust around the ash blonde. They never learn. Izuku said with a smirk as he took out Lost Vein. True counter. Izuku screamed as he sliced the air again. The howitzer impact got countered by Izuku's attack, returning it back. As Bakugo saw the attack returning back at him, he said one thing. Thank you, Izuku. Bakugo was consumed by his own attack. A humongous explosion was created by the attack, covering the entire room in smoke. Bakugo's unconscious body fell from the smoke before being caught by Izuku. Izuku fell on the floor on his feet as he placed Izuku's body on the floor. That's a good match, my friend. Izuku said as he healed his friend with his goddess powers. Next match, 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴 vs Tokoyami, Izuku vs 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐲 vs Kirishima Mina vs Sato Todoroki vs 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. These are the next matches. All Might said. Alright, can young 𝐶𝐮𝐬 and young Tokoyami please come to the ring? All Might said as the ring was returned to normal thanks to 𝐶𝐮𝐬𝐴 vs Tokoyami, Izuku vs 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐲 vs Kirishima Ida Mina vs Sato Mina Todoroki vs 𝐾𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 Todoroki. Alright, for the next 2 rounds, young Midoriya will have to sit out due to the amount of people still in. All Might explained to everyone. Next match, Tokoyami vs Mina Ida vs Todoroki. Can young Tokoyami and young Mina come into the ring? All Might said. Tokoyami vs Mina, Tokoyami Ida vs Todoroki. Okay, can young Tokoyami and young Todoroki enter the ring? All Might said. Tokoyami vs Todoroki. Alright, now it's time for the final battle. Can young Midoriya and young Todoroki come into the stage? As the two entered the stage, they looked into each other, both with a smirk on their faces. Looks like our rematch is gonna begin. Izuku said with his smirk. Either way, I'm still gonna win this. Todoroki said. Let's start the rematch. Izuku said as he got into a fighting stance. Alright then. Todoroki replied. Begin. All Might shouted. In a flash, Todoroki sent a wall of ice at Izuku's direction. Izuku smirked as he rushed to the incoming ice wall. He took out 𝐻𝗧𝗱 from its handle and destroyed the ice by slicing it into small pieces of ice and creating a large amount of mist, covering the two's visions. Todoroki frantically looked for the dual-haired teen. Suddenly out of the mist came Izuku with 𝐻𝗧𝗱 in his hand. "Ha!" Izuku shouted as he rushed Todoroki. Todoroki, shocked by the sudden shot out a wall of ice at the teen, who effortlessly broke the ice with his sword and jumped at the red-white teen. Todoroki, out of instinct, shot out large amounts of his fire at the jumping Izuku. He shot the flames at full force. "Ah!" Izuku's voice screamed as his burning and scorched body fell to the floor, spinning and rolling. "Midoriya!" the bicolored teen shouted as he went to his burning friend. Suddenly, Izuku's body turned to ash in front of Todoroki, who looked traumatized. Suddenly, he felt himself get kicked in the gut. He was then sent flying but stopped after creating a wall of ice behind him. Izuku can be seen with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in his hand at where Todoroki was previously at. "What?" Todoroki asked, confused at what had happened. "I shot you with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and used Nightmare Teller. I placed you in a false nightmare while the mist covered our vision. That left you defenseless and opened to attacks. Don't worry, that nightmare that you were stuck in was fake and will never happen." Izuku explained assuringly. Breathe fine then. Ice wave." Todoroki shouted as he summoned a giant ice wave at Izuku. He knows that true counter won't work with his ice. "Smart kid." Meliodas stated. "Yeah, he is the son of Endeavor. But that doesn't mean that he'll beat me," Izuku said as he smirked and rushed at the wave of ice. "That idiot. What is he doing?" Kaminari shouted as he saw Izuku rush to the incoming attack. "He's facing it head-on. Like a man." Kirishima replied as a fake tear of manliness fell from his face. "Enchant Hellblaze." Izuku shouted as he took out 𝐻𝗧𝗱 and kept 𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝐻𝗧𝗱 was then covered in black flames. "Wait. That is. Do it, DKU." Bakugo shouted, surprising many. "Right. HAA." Izuku shouted as he struck the ground with the attack, creating a wave of Hellblaze, obliterating Todoroki's ice wave. "Damn it," the bicolored-haired teen shouted in frustration. Out of the flames came Izuku, ready to strike Todoroki with his sword. Todoroki shot a wave of fire at Izuku, who jumped to dodge the attack. As Izuku tried to hit Todoroki from the air with 𝐻𝗧𝗱, Todoroki used his flames to boost himself away from the attack. 𝐻𝗧𝗱 struck the ground, causing the ground to crack. Izuku rushed Todoroki yet again. This time, Izuku kept 𝐻𝗧𝗱 and teleported Gideon into his hand. Todoroki sent another wave of ice. Izuku smirked as he used Gideon to smash the wave of ice with ease. Izuku then managed to hit Todoroki's waist with Gideon, making the bicolored teen spit BLD before being punched in the gut by Izuku. Todoroki was sent back several feet as he regained back his breath. Izuku watched as he walked slowly to Todoroki. "Fireball!" Todoroki shouted as he created a fireball and threw it at Izuku. Izuku kept Gideon and took out 𝐻𝗧𝗱. "True counter!" Izuku shouted as he sliced the fireball, returning the fireball with triple the power it had before. Todoroki managed to block the attack, but receiving a lot of damage. Todoroki breathed in exhaustion from the attack. Todoroki quickly shot a wave of fire at Izuku. Izuku dodged the attack as Todoroki continued his fiery onslaught. Todoroki continued shooting his flames at Izuku, who continued to dodge and avoided the attack. After many attempts of trying to hit Izuku with his flames, Todoroki was exhausted and his breath became rapid and heavy. Izuku walked to Todoroki, 𝐻𝗧𝗱 in hand. Izuku watched as Todoroki tried to stand up, breathing from exhaustion. I don't understand. Why can't I hit you?" Todoroki asked between breaths. "That's because you keep aiming where I am instead of where I'm going to be." Izuku explained. Breathe, take this then." Todoroki shouted as he covered himself in flames. Izuku jumped back before he got caught in the fire. "Release it. Release everything. Don't let the chains of your past bound you from the future you want. Remember all the pain he's caused. The people he's hurt. Now make that your power." Izuku shouted, referencing Endeavor as the he. "Ah." Todoroki screamed as his body was engulfed in flames and ice. The fire then began to glow light blue, soon turning the orange flames to light blue. Thank you, Midoriya. You finally showed me right way to become a hero. You freed me from the chains that have been stuck on him for years. Thank you, my friend. Todoroki said between the tears that fell and evaporated as they touched the ground. Izuku smiled as he got into his fighting stance. Let's go, Todoroki. Izuku shouted. Todoroki shouted as he shot a stream of light blue flames at Izuku, who dodged it with ease. These flames, they are hotter than before but more faster, Izuku realized. Izuku rushed at Todoroki, who created pillars of ice behind him and flew up with his flames. Like what Bakuga did, meaning he expects to do the same thing. He thinks that I will either break the ice, melt it, or rush him. From all of that, I have several openings for about 273 seconds when I destroy the pillar. I'm guessing that in that time, he will shoot me with his flames. So, I have to lower his guard for an opening. That's it. Izuku thought and strategized. Izuku smirked as he kept Lost Vein and took Rita from his back. Take this. Sunshine Pulse. Izuku shouted as he swung Rita 360, creating a wave of flames all over the ring. The flames evaporated all the ice pillars, making Todoroki jumped up surprised from the attack. There, Izuku said as he jumped to Todoroki and kicked him in the gut and kept Rita as Todoroki fell to the ground. He knew what I was trying to do. Todoroki figged out as he produced a light blue fireball. Take this, Todoroki said as he threw the fireball. Izuku, seeing the attack, stretched his hand out to the incoming attack and shouted, Cruel Sunday. Suddenly a mini-sun appeared and shot at the fireball. The fireball was engulfed by Izuku's mini-sun and the mini-sun was sent to Todoroki. Todoroki managed to dodge by skating off, but he was blown back by the explosion of the Izuku's cruel sun as it collided with the floor. You're getting better, Todoroki-san. Izuku's voice can be heard from the smoke from the attack. But the smoke slowly blew away. Izuku can be seen in the middle of the dust cloud, but with a red godly aura surrounding his body and the amulet he wore around his neck glowing a bright red. You're still no match for me, Izuku said with a serious expression. Amazing. Just powerful is this kid. Gran Torino said as he had his mouth opened in amazement. Come on, Shudo. Whoop his butt. Endeavor shouted. Go, Mr. Deku. Do it. Eri and Koda shouted in encouragement. Let's end this, Midoriya. Todoroki shouted as his body was engulfed by his bright blue flames. Let's go then. Shudo. Izuku said with a smirk. Infernal hell. Todoroki screamed as he charged his blue flames and got ready to blast Izuku with the attack. But with blue flames, it's the same with his attack during the sports festival. This time, 3 times stronger. Izuku thought as he smirked as the attack was coming to him. Sorry Todoroki, but I think it's time I end this. Exterminate Ray. Enchant Infinity. Izuku screamed as he summoned Aldon and shot an Exterminate Ray. The ray was far bigger and stronger than before. The ray blasted through Todoroki's flame and engulfed the bicolored teen. Thanks, Midoriya. Todoroki last thought before being engulfed by the attack. The ray shot through the wall, almost destroying the entire gym. As the ray died down, Todoroki's body fell sewn onto the floor unconscious. That was a good fight, my friend, Izuku said as he carried Todoroki's body to a nearby wall to heal him with Healing Ray. Thanks, Midoriya. Todoroki thanked Izuku as he got up from the wall. No prob. Izuku replied. Okay then, so the winner of this competition is young Mido. All Might was interrupted by Endeavor. Hold up. Endeavor shouted as he walked to Izuku. I request to battle this child. The only reason Shoto lost was because he was exhausted by his other battles whilst this brat got to rest for the matches. Endeavor said angrily as he pointed to Izuku. Izuku didn't say anything. Well, if I win, Shoto will be the winner of this DMN competition. Do you accept, Brett? I accept. Izuku replied. I know you would dash, on one condition. He spoke to 𝗏𝐬𝑜r via telepathy. That condition is that you release Rei Todoroki from that hospital that you put her in. And treat her right. Izuku told 𝗏𝐬𝑜r. Fine. But it's not like you will win. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r said smugly as he went to the repaired ring. As the two entered the ring, the students conversed. Who do you think will win? Mina asked. Probably 𝗏𝐏𝑜r. He is the #1 hero. Hagakure said. Deku/Midoriya, Bakug, Todoroki and Momo said in unison. But he's facing 𝗏𝐏𝑜r, the no. Mineta said. You haven't faced Midoriya firsthand. It was obvious that he was holding back a lot of power with each battle that he had. Even with the battle with All for One. He was holding back so much power. Dare I say it, but Midoriya may even be stronger than All Might. Todoroki explained. Midoriya-san also has an extremely intellectual mind. He was able to avoid Todoroki-san's trap with the ice pillars before. He managed to easily gain the advantage in every battle by figuring out each of Bakugo's and Todoroki's weaknesses. Not to mention that he won when both of them improved with Midoriya's help. Momo explained. Amazing. Everybody said, mouth agaped. Begin. All Might shouted. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r created a spear from his flames and threw the spear at Izuku. Izuku tilted his head to the right, avoiding the spear aimed for his head. Izuku then ducked a flaming punch from 𝗏𝐏𝑜r. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r clicked his tongue. Izuku then proceeded to punch 𝗏𝐏𝑜r in the chin, sending him into the air. Izuku teleported to 𝗏𝐏𝑜r and punched him in the jaw before send many punches to his gut before hammering the flame hero to the ground. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r crashed onto the floor and on his face. As the flame hero got up, he coughed up blood and breathed from exhaustion. Damn it, you brat. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r shouted in anger. As 𝗏𝐏𝑜r looked up, he saw nothing. Izuku was gone. Where is that dash? Here. Izuku shouted as he kicked 𝗏𝐏𝑜r in the face, sending him to the other side of the ring. Izuku fell onto the floor on his feet. He watched as 𝗏𝐏𝑜r stood up and prepared his flames. Hell Flame Blast. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r screamed as he shot his flames at Izuku. Sunshine. Izuku shouted as his amulet glowed red and his red aura glowed around him. The air pressure blew away the flames, shocking everybody. Take this. Cruel Sunday, Izuku shouted as he threw a mini-sun at 𝗏𝐏𝑜r. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r shot his flames at the mini-sun, only for the flames to have no effect. Dash. The cruel sun collided with 𝗏𝐏𝑜r, creating a powerful and huge explosion. The explosion created large amounts of smoke. As the smoke blew away, 𝗏𝐏𝑜r can be seen breathing and bloody. Damn it. Take this, you demon brat. Ha. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r screamed as his body was engulfed in flames. The flames were so hot and large that almost the entire building was covered. Perfect cube. Izuku shouted as he summoned a perfect cube to protect everyone from being burned alive. The flames hit the perfect cube but not destroying it. Everyone let out a breath of relief. You idiot. You could have killed them. Izuku shouted with anger. Do you think I care right now? I think it's time for you to die. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r shouted as the upper part of his costume covering his chest burned from the flames. His body was engulfed from the flame as they began to cover him. Hell Flame Body. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r shouted as his body was covered in flames. He had a sadistic smile and his eyes full of malice. Damn it, this dumbass. Izuku shouted as his face was full of anger. Time to die. 𝗏𝐏𝑜r shouted as he rushed to Izuku and attempted to punch him. Izuku, surprised from 𝗏𝐏𝑜r's speed, almost got hit from 𝗏𝐏𝑜r's punch, but managed to dodge the punch. What the hell? His speed and power has tripled. Izuku thought. Izuku ran to the other side of the ring as 𝗏𝐏𝑜r turned his head to see Izuku. Damn it, you dumbass. No more bounds. Izuku said, voice full of anger. 𝗏𝐏𝑜rr laughed. He then shot a huge beam of flames that reached Izuku really fast. Izuku didn't manage to dodge the attack and had to face it head-on. The attack created an explosion. Izuku swiftly ran to 𝗏𝐏𝑜rr from the smoke, body slightly bloody. Izuku reeled his fist for a punch to 𝗏𝐏𝑜r's jaw but was uppercut in the gut by a flaming fist, sending him up. 𝐿𝐿𝐴 threw a huge fireball at Izuku, partially destroying the teen's costume. Izuku fell to the floor, bloody and coughing blood. Before Izuku had time to react, he was suddenly assaulted by a barrage of flaming fists. Izuku was repeatedly punched in the gut and face before being stomped into the ground by a flaming feet. "Mwah! Looks like a win this battle, you brat." 𝐿𝐴 shouted as he walked away to shoot a mega attack. "Time to die. Hell's Fury." 𝐿𝐴 screamed as he jumped out and created an enormous fireball with his finger and threw it to Izuku. "Izuku!" 𝐴𝐮 shouted from inside the cube. "That idiot's gonna kill him." Tiger screamed. 𝐿𝐴, stop it." All Might screamed as he smashed on the perfect cube. Everyone watched as the fireball headed to Izuku. Some were worried and some were tearing up. Boom! The fireball collided with Izuku in the crater, creating a large dust cloud was created near the collision area. "No!" Many screamed as they saw their friend/student/hero get engulfed by the attack. 𝐿𝐴 smirked evilly and victoriously as he saw his attack collide with the twin-haired teen. Before the large fireball exploded, a black beam shot through the top of the fireball and breaking the roof of the building. The beam reached the sky, suddenly covering the entire world in complete darkness. "What?" Kaminari asked, confused. "What the hell is happening?" 𝐿𝐴 shouted as he saw the sky turn dark. Suddenly, a larger black beam shot from the sky to where the fireball was, enveloping the entire fireball. The beam created powerful air pressure, breaking the glass of the windows and destroying the roof of the building. When the beam stopped being shot from the sky, a large dome made of darkness covered the area that Izuku was at. "What is that?" Kirishima asked. Everyone wondered what that dome was. Everyone's eyes was as wide as dinner plates and their mouths were opened in confusion and shock. Suddenly, the dome decreased in size and it was 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐷 into 1 point. Red lightning sparked around the black dome. As the dome became smaller, the red lightning became thicker and more were produced. As the dome disappeared, a figure covered in red lightning walked out of the crater. Everyone watched as they saw the person walk out of the crater. Once the person exited the crater, the red lightning started to disappear. As the red lightning disappeared, Izuku can be seen. His hand had a red lost vein and his body was covered in darkness and he had his demon mark. What the hell? 𝐿𝐴 said confused. "I never expected someone like you to make me use this." Izuku said coldly, voice full of anger and malice. This sent a shiver down everyone's spine. "Assault mode. Assault mode. 𝐶𝐮, even with that transformation, you will never beat me." 𝐿𝐴 shouted as he rushed Izuku for a flaming punch. Izuku smirked. "Divine 1,000 slices." Izuku shouted as he appeared behind 𝐿𝐴. "F." 𝐿𝐴 screamed in pain as he knelt on the floor. His body was bleeding from the cuts and his breathing quickened. "You demon brat." 𝐿𝐴 screamed as he shot his flames. Izuku simply cut the flames away with lost vein. Izuku then rushed 𝐿𝐴 and kicked him in the face, sending him to the wall and through the wall. "Cough cough, you have the nerve to hit me." 𝐿𝐴 said between coughs of blood. "And you have the nerve to almost kill me and my friends." Izuku said coldly. You will die." 𝐿𝐴 shouted as he rushed at Izuku. Izuku teleported away from 𝐿𝐴's rush. 𝐿𝐴 stopped and looked behind him, only to get a punch in the face from Izuku. This sent the flame hero to go through another wall and back into Gym Gamma. Izuku remained silent as he walked to a knelt-down Enji Todoroki. He continued to cough up blood. Izuku smirked as he placed his feet on Enji's head. "What's wrong? I thought you said I will never beat you." "What a joke," Izuku said as his smirk turned into a disappointed frown. Izuku then smirked evilly. "Because of what you did. Why not I torment you a little?" Izuku said, his voice demonic and evil. Izuku jumped several feet away from 𝐿𝐴. Darkness immobilization. Izuku screamed as the darkness covering his chest area and hands flew above Izuku before dropping on 𝐿𝐴. 𝐿𝐴. 𝐿𝐴 screamed in pain as Izuku had a smirk. "What's wrong? Is the pain too much for you to handle?" How do you think the people you hurt felt then you torment them? When you killed them? Izuku screamed in anger as the attack became more powerful as tears streamed down his face. Flashback. Oh Midoriya, you have a letter. When don't know who the letter is from nor what is inside. Ryan said as he passed Izuku the letter. Izuku sat on the concrete floor of the prison as he read the letter in his head. As he read it, tears streamed down his face. Hello Izuku Midoriya, I've heard that you knew what I did to my wife and planned to tell the police when you got enough evidence. If you even dare to tell the police, I will come and personally end you. As a warning, I killed your mother 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 Midoriya and hired an assassin to murder your father, 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 Midoriya. If you dare tell a soul, I will come for you next. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Endeavor. Izuku closed the letter as tears streamed down his face. Ryan and other Ryan noticed this and asked Izuku what the problem was. It's nothing. Can you burn this letter? There's nothing important inside. Izuku said as he passed other Ryan the letter. Okay. Other Ryan replied worryingly as he went to burn the letter. End of flashback. Young Midoriya. Please stop this. All Might shouted. Please Izuku. Stop this. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 shouted as tears almost came out. Izuku looked inside the perfect cube to see 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 almost at the verge of tears. Izuku looked guiltily as he stopped his attack, the darkness returning to him. You're lucky that they told me to stop. Izuku said coldly as Endeavor regained his breath. Izuku then deactivated the perfect cube. You DMN mother effer. Endeavor screamed as he quickly rushed at 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 screamed as Endeavor grabbed her head. Izuku looked behind to see Endeavor grabbing 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 by the head. Izuku's face contorted to one of pure anger and fury. Red lightning sparked his body. Ha! Let's what you will do when I kill her. Endeavor shouted as he had a sadistic smile as his hand glowed orange. Izuku! 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 mentally screamed as tears fell down. Before anyone could do anything, Izuku was suddenly in front of Endeavor. Izuku, showing no mercy, used Lost Vein to cut of Endeavor's right hand that grabbed 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫's head. Izuku then kneed the flame hero in the face, breaking his nose and sending him to the other side of the gym. Aha! Endeavor screamed as his hand bled everywhere. You know what? I've got no more F to give. Izuku said as red lightning surrounded his body. His voice was demonic and full of anger. Izuku then teleported to Endeavor and grabbed his hair and tossing him up. Izuku smirked evilly as he jumped to where Endeavor was and punched and kicked him all over his body. Endeavor spat and coughed BLD as he was punched in the jaw and sent to the ground, bloody and beaten. I'm not done yet, Izuku said, smirking. As Endeavor stood up, Izuku stabbed him in the stomach with Lost Vein. Blurg YYU DDMN brat. Endeavor managed to say. He then grabbed Izuku's head, as if trying to crush his head. I'll teach what happens when you hurt those I love and care about. Izuku Hen shot his Hellblaze through Lost Vein and therefore from Endeavor's stomach. Endeavor then dropped to the ground bloody and beaten. His body was pummeled to a pulp, his right hand was missing and his stomach had a stab wound. It's your turn to be beaten and bloody. Izuku said with a smirk. Young Midoriya. Did you kill him? All Might shouted as he went to check on Endeavor. Almost. Just give it some time. Izuku replied, smiling evilly. Midoriya. You shouldn't have done that. Aizawa shouted at Izuku. Izuku looked at Aizawa with an emotionless face. He then smirked. He deserved everything that was coming for him. He almost killed all of you, almost killed 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, kill innocent lives and tortured them. Izuku said. Why young Midoriya, what do I dash? He killed my parents. He had abused Todoroki and his family for years. As I went to get more evidence to report his actions to the police, he figured out I was onto him. In prison, he sent me a letter telling me how he had killed my mother and hired an assassin to kill my father. Izuku said, shocking many. So, he deserves everything that came to him today. Izuku said. Now then I'll be taking my leave. Izuku said as he created wings out of darkness. Izuku wait. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 shouted but it was too late. Izuku had already flown off. Izuku. Izuku continued flying in his assault mode. Soon he sighed as he stopped. In the air floating, he was covered in a flash of blue light. As the light disappeared, he wore a different outfit. At his back was Lost Vein. Izuku sighed as he opened up a portal. As he went through the portal, he was in purgatory. He looked around the area. The place looked interesting. He felt his entire body burned and ached all over. His skin burned and melted before regenerating thanks to Izuku's immortality he gained from Ban. Damn it. This hurts like hell. Izuku screamed as tried to regain his breath. His breathing quickened, as his body felt like he was covered in the worst of flames and acid. How did you two last over 1,000 years in here? Izuku screamed in pain. Well, I had my immortality and soon I slowly, very slowly adapted to it. Ban replied, remembering the events. Meliodas shrugged. Breathe, I do this. Izuku said as he got up and began walking around. Real world, everyone stood there in the gym as Endeavor's heavily injured body was placed onto a stretcher as he was sent to a hospital. Sadly, without actual proof showing Endeavor's guilt, he could not be placed in jail. Even if Todoroki, his siblings, and Ray testified for his guilt, there would not be enough to any evidence that can put Endeavor under arrest. They were afraid that Ray would be put since she caused Todoroki his scar. Either way, there is almost zero evidence that can show Endeavor's guilt. The assassin was not known. The letter sent to Izuku was burned. And there was no witnesses that saw Inko's murder. They all clenched their fists. There was nothing that can be done. Damn it. That BS dude killed Aunt Inko and Uncle Hisashi. And there's nothing we can confing do. Bakugo thought as he clenched his fist so tight, BLD seeped out. His eyes watered as tears fell. That DMN He killed my best friend's parents too. The fact that there's nothing we can do is bullshit. And he still lives with no DMN guilt. Todoroki thought angrily as his blue flames started to spark around his body. He gritted his teeth and his fists were clenched. All the teachers had beyond angry expressions. The current #1 hero had committed a murder and there was nothing they could do. Izuku. 𝐻𝐿𝐼 thought worriedly. She looked at where Izuku had flown off. Her face had a worried expression as tears almost came out. It's okay, 𝐻𝐿𝐼. He'll came back. Mirio told 𝐻𝐿𝐼 assuringly as he placed a hand on her shoulder. Mirio and Tamaki walked to 𝐻𝐿𝐼 with an assuring smile. 𝐻𝐿𝐼 looked at them as she smiled back. They were the only ones who knew she had a crush on Izuku. They were okay with 𝐻𝐿𝐼's choice and supported her choice. Ring the bell rang loudly, grabbing everyone's attention. All right, class. You can go now. Aizawa said. Everyone nodded as they went to class to grab their bags and return to the dorms. As everyone returned to the dorms, Izuku was not in sight. They all grew worried but continued to rest and relax, hoping that Izuku would return shortly. Unfortunately, he didn't appear nor returned. Days later, Monday, everyone entered the classroom. They all looked to Izuku's desk. Nothing. They all started to get worried by Izuku's disappearance but trusted the boy that he would return soon. As everyone sat down, Aizawa came in shortly after. He had dark bags under his eyes as he walked into the classroom lazily and tired. Well, everyone, today me will be doing dash. Aizawa stopped as he saw Izuku's empty seat. Has anyone seen Problem Child lately? Aizawa asked as he pointed to Izuku's desk. No, sir. Not after hero training on Friday, the weekends, nor today. Ida replied. I see. Well, today we will be patrolling around Nezudafu. Get your costumes and get ready at the entrance. Aizawa said as he left the room. Everyone quickly wore their costumes and went to the school entrance. As everyone settled at the entrance, they saw Class 1B and 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 and the Big Three. They also saw All Might, Present Mike, Midnight, Nezu, Vlad King, Snipe, Recovery Girl, Gran Torino, the Pussycats, and Eri and Koda. Hey guys. Is Izuku here now? 𝐻𝐿𝐼 asked one. No. He hasn't been here since the competition. Ida replied, clenching his fist harder when he said Endeavor. 𝐻𝐿𝐼 said as her face turned to concern. Well, students. We will start patrolling the area. We will all be patrolling together. If you see a villain, report it to a teacher. If they say you are allowed to go, bring at least 2 people with you. Nezu said, receiving a nod in response. As they all walked together as a group around 𝐴𝐵, they all looked at the appealing scenery around them. The calm breeze, the appealing plants all around and the happy kids playing with each other. As they thought all was good, they all suddenly felt the ground shake. 𝐻𝗚𝗧𝗟𝗘, Monoma said as he tried to balance. Nezu looked on his phone, his face turning pale and fearful. There's a monster at the middle of 𝐴𝐵. Nezu shouted. What? Where did it come from? All Might shouted. It fell from the sky out of nowhere. Nezu replied. As they all ran quicker, they saw a large white creature shooting red beams at the buildings while pro-heroes tried to stop it. Many pro-heroes were trying to stop it. Mount Lady, Kamui Woods, Death Arms, a covered in bandages Endeavor and more. Even in her giant form, 𝐴𝐵 was still 20 times smaller than the creature. All of their attacks had no effect on the creature. Look out, it's shooting another blast. Death Arms screamed as the beast shot a red beam. The heroes dodged but the explosion blew them away. What the hell? That's the beast. Kaminari and Mineta screamed. Roar. The beast roared, shaking the ground. The beast reeled its fist, preparing to punch the heroes. The heroes dodged, but the attack causing the ground within a 10-meter radius to break. All Might jumped high, reeling his fist which glowed yellow. His teeth gritting, he prepared to deal a powerful. Take this monster. United States of Smash. All Might screamed as he prepared his punch. The beast reeled his fist too and punched All Might, the two's fist colliding. The impact of the collision obliterated the building that weren't already destroyed within a 15-meter radius. As they saw the beast's fist, it wasn't even affected by All Might's attack. Not even a crack. The beast reeled its right fist and punched All Might before he could fall to the ground. The strike sent him through several buildings before stopping in the office of a building. The others looked in horror as All Might was sent through many buildings with a single hit. The beast roared, before shooting a red blast at the heroes, only managing to avoid the attack. They all continued to watch as the beast continued to roar, shaking the earth. Soon All Might returned to the scene, breathing heavily as blood trickled down his forehead. The beast raised its right hand, before smashing it to All Might. All Might only managed to stop the attack from crushing him, lifting the hand, struggling while doing so. Cough cough. All of you, destroy this creature's hand while it is still close. All Might said, the struggle and frustration obvious in his voice. 𝐻𝗚𝗧𝗟𝗘. Everyone attacked the beast's hand with all their power, creating a massive explosion covering the entire area. As the smoke blew away, All Might can be seen still under the hand, this time showing no signs of struggle. Is the arm out of commission? 𝐾𝐮𝐬𝐴 asked. Suddenly the hand went back up to the beast. The smoke covering it showed that no damage except for burnt marks and scratches had been done to the beast's hand. That did nothing. Endeavor screamed. Everyone was exhausted from their previous attack. The beast then charged a red beam. This time, it took longer, and the beam becoming significantly bigger. Death Arms screamed in horror. The beast then shot the beam at the beam, creating powerful wind pressure. Everyone watched in horror as the blast headed to them. Everyone prepared for the blast. Is this the end? True Spirit Spear Chasteful. 8 Form, Pollen Garden. Everyone opened their eyes to see them in a weird green egg-shaped barrier. The beam struck the barrier, only for the beam to be deflected. As the beam stopped firing, everyone saw as a figure stood in front of them. Wow. I can only guess that I was gone for 2 days and you guys can't even protect 𝐴𝐵 while I'm gone. I'm a bit disappointed. The figure said. The figure looked around of about 18 years old. He wore no shirt but wore shorts that covered to his knees. He had fully grown butterfly wings on his back and bandages covering his left eye. He had green and yellow hair and a calm and assuring aura. Who are you? All Might asked. Izuku smiled looking at All Might. As he then turned to look at the beast. The beast roared loudly, shaking the area once again. The figure seemed unfazed by the roar, his smile actually growing. An Albion, a creature of the demon clan. I can only guess that you were sent here today. Most likely from my rage in that competition. The figure said as the creature roared yet again, this time, shooting a red beam at the male. 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘. Form 5 increase. The figure screamed as over 1,000 small blades appeared. The blades then span around the figure. The beam collided with the blades, deflecting the beam as the figure smirked from inside the barrier of blades. Looks like you're 5 times stronger than the Albions from the past. Your power level. From 5,500 to 27,500. The figure said. But. The blades stopped spinning as they all pointed to the Albion. You're still not stronger than me. The figure said as the Albion reeled a punch. The Albion then punched the figure only for the blades to launch all around the Albion's arm, destroying it to pieces. Everyone watched in astonishment as the figure took out the Albion's arm with ease. As the blades stopped, the Albion's entire right arm was gone. The beast then roared as it shot a fireball. The figure pointed his middle and index finger at the fireball, stopping the attack. The figure smirked as he sent the attack back to the Albion. It exploded on impact, causing the Albion to move several feet. Roarer. The Albion roared as he punched the figure with his left arm this time. The figure crossed his arms as the incoming attack neared him. As the fist was about to connect, the arm was suddenly stopped, dead in its tracks. The figure smirked as the hand was suddenly broken into bits and pieces. The figure smirked as he turned the small scratch from one of the dagger's attack on the left arm of the Albion into a large crack, destroying the arm. The figure looked at the Albion as the beast roared yet again. The figure snapped his fingers as the ground shook. Suddenly, a large flower loomed over the beast. 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘. Form 4, sunflower. The figure shouted as the flower generated a large yellow beam. The male smirked as he snapped his fingers yet again, blasting the yellow beam. It engulfed the entire Albion and more. As the beam collided with the Albion, a large explosion was created, blowing away debris and several buildings away. The male watched unfazed from his destructive attack. As the smoke cleared, the Albion was destroyed, no signs or parts of it left. The figure then slowly floated down to where the heroes were. Snapping his fingers, the barrier around them disappeared. 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘 said as he attempted to capture the male with his vines. The figure easily snapped his fingers, causing the vines to wrap around 𝗀𝐻𝐿 instead. 𝗀𝐻𝐿 said as he wasn't able to get out from his vines. You should be happy I came when I could. If I didn't, you guys would be dead. None of you would be able to handle that Albion. Even if you fought the Albions in the past. The male said, slight disappointment in his voice. Why should we trust you? And I could obviously handle that monster single-handedly. Endeavor shouted arrogantly. Why you should trust me? Because I'm the one who cleared the threats that all of you couldn't get rid of. The figure said as a purple wind circled around him, covering him in a mini purple tornado. As the tornado stopped, Izuku can be seen floating slightly above the ground. He wore what seemed to be a black vest with long black breaths and lost vein at his back. His left eye was no longer covered by bandages because his left eye was back. His left eye this time held a weird mark in it and shone an orange light. His hair was more messy and more covered yellow. His arms held many scars and marks and a tattoo of a dragon on his left bicep. Small wings could also be seen from a hole on Izuku's back. He held a serious expression while also holding a slight smile, and his eyes were crossed. Everybody watched as the wind revealed the figure to be Izuku, the boy that they had not seen after the competition incident. Izuku! 𝗀𝐻𝐿 shouted as she ran to Izuku for a hug. Hi 𝗀𝐻𝐿. Izuku said, accepting the hug. And returning in a weird way. Eep. Midoriya. Class 1A, 1B, Big 3 and teachers shouted. Midoriya. Banking, Diane, Merlin, Gowther, 𝗬𝗓𝗓 and Elizabeth shouted in Izuku's head. Meliodas giggled before being punched at the back of the head by Ban. Why the hell is he like the pervert you are? Band shouted at 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐴. Why did you think I taught him while you all weren't looking? 𝐒𝐿𝐴 said with his classic face, making everyone curse at themselves for not realizing or not noticing. So, how's all you've been doing? Izuku said as he groped Nijire's 𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐵. Everyone watched confused and astonished at Izuku's behavior. On Friday, he seemed emotionless and seemed like he did not care about anything. Now, he seemed to be more happy and emotional. Well, while everyone was being a bit confused, two people was bleeding BL. Midoriya, you curly-haired bee. Kaminari and Mineta screeched as they ran to Izuku. 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Izuku said as chains made from earth sprang out from the ground and chaining Mineta's and Kaminari's wrist and ankles. So like I said, how are all of you? Izuku said again, stopping 𝗏𝗚𝐺 Nijire while doing so. You am fine. All Might replied. Midoriya, where have you been all this time? Aizawa asked the twin-haired teen. Oh, I've been in purgatory. Izuku replied cheerfully with a smile. Wait, isn't purgatory a space between the living world and the afterlife? A place that you go to punish and atone for your sins? Momo asked/said. Somewhat right, I guess. Izuku replied, rubbing the back of his head. Purgatory is an extremely chaotic and dangerous place. Quote, there in purgatory, the air is a mix of both burning hot and freezing cold while the earth is highly poisonous. Together, they destroy the flesh and bone of any living thing. Time is so distorted that a single minute lasts for a year. It eats away at the souls of mortals. Those were the words of one of my mentor's father. According to her, her father looked invalid and a wreck. And he was only in purgatory for 1 minute. It is a place of pure chaos and madness, making you lose your mind as your body is being broken down at an unbelievable rate. I don't even think All Might can last 2 minutes in purgatory. Izuku explained, his expression turning serious. W8. But you were in there for 3 days here. Doesn't that mean Kirishima was then interrupted? Yes. I was in purgatory for 4,320 years. Izuku said. Then how are you alive? From those conditions and your age? Endeavor screeched. Well, first of all, the reason I've been able to survive that hell for 4,320 years is because of my immortality constantly rebuilding my body as it corrodes. And as for why I'm alive after 4,320 years is because of one of the abilities from one of my mentors, Merlin. Izuku said, further surprising everyone. That ability is called Infinity. It allows me to stop my own time, making me die from age basically impossible unless I undo the spell. Izuku replied yet again, surprising everyone. So what did you mean about us being unable to handle that creature? An Albion? Nezu asked. Be prepared for a full explanation about your power levels. Izuku said as he took an object from his pocket. This is 𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐴's magical eye. It allows me to see your power level. A person's power level is summed from 3 values. They're magic, strength, and spirit. Magic is a measure of magical power, but in this case your quirk power. Strength is a measure of physical ability. Spirit is a measure of composure. The average power level of a student from class 1A-me is about magic 50, strength 120, and spirit Bakugo has a power level of magic 120, strength 100, and spirit Todoroki has a power level of magic 130, strength 110, spirit Mirio has a power level of magic of 120, strength 340, and spirit the average pro hero has a power level of endeavor has a power level of magic 390, strength 450, and spirit All Might has a power level of 1, magic 40, strength 670, and spirit this therefore means your total power level being about 12,730. Izuku said, making some happy. Yes, altogether you would be able to beat the Albion having a power level of 2,500. But Izuku said, regaining everyone's attention. That Albion you all fought was 5 times stronger than the Albion of the past. A power level of 27,500. Izuku stated, shocking everyone present. W8. Then what's your power level? Kaminari asked. That's gonna need more explanation. Before going to prison, at 1,000,000% I had a power level of 2, magic 100, strength 2680 and spirit 200. After prison, at heavily suppressed I had a power level of 3, magic 1130, strength 1240 and spirit. The strongest Nomo during the attack had a power level of 1, magic 140, strength 1540 and spirit. At base I had a power level 10, magic 3780, strength 5210 and spirit 1. At full power base, I had a power level of 39, magic 12,790, strength 23,350 and spirit 3,785. In assault mode, the form that I hooped endeavors but in. Izuku stated as some snickered while Endeavor grew angry. In assault mode, I had a power level of 109, magic 16, strength 86,980 and spirit 6,150. After returning from my 4,320 years in purgatory, my power level has increased dramatically. Izuku stated, blowing away those who were already astonished from Izuku's power level. At base, I have a power level of 72, magic 24,200, strength 45,500, and spirit 3. At full power base, I have a power level of 208, magic 62,050, strength 101,730 and spirit 26. In the form I fought that Albion, I was in my fully grown fairy wings. Despite this, I was barely using 5% of my full power. In that form I have a power level of about 1,312,200 at full power. Magic 990,940, strength 159,210 and spirit 162,050. Izuku said, smiling while doing so. And remember, I haven't even talked about my absolute full power, with all my powers at max power at the same time. Izuku said, floating happily as everyone shivered at the thought. Well, if you would excuse me, I'm going to sleep in my room. Izuku shouted as he quickly flew away, leaving a beyond astonished group of humans. In the air, Izuku can be seen flying to Yue. He had a smile on his face as his green and yellow, now 80% yellow, hair was blown by the wind. Despite his happy appearance, he was having a serious conversation with the 𝐶𝐮𝐬. In Izuku's mindscape, "You idiot!" Ban screamed as he hit the back of 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑's head at full strength. Well, you all wanted me to teach him everything I know. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑 replied, getting another hit to the head. By everything, everything minus the bad parts. Ban screamed as he hit the back of 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑's head again. I mean, it isn't really bad knowledge. Izuku tried to defend 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑's, only to get a glare by Ban. He said it wasn't bad knowledge. 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑 said as he had his classic look. You've polluted that innocent cinnamon roll's mind. He's becoming more like you, and not in a good way. Ban screamed again, this time punching 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑 in the gut. Meanwhile, the other 𝐶𝐮𝐬s watched the two quarrel. They all were still disappointed in themselves for not realizing about what 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑 had done to their cinnamon roll. Izuku Midoriya. Sai, how did we not see the captain teach Izuku all of these things? King said as he rested on 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 in its pillow form. Not even I know. Merlin replied, sighing too. Soon, the 𝐶𝐮𝐬s could now see Ban also hitting Izuku and 𝐒𝐿𝐴𝐻𝑑. And all they could do was watch as the three continued to argue. Real world, thud, well, I'm back at you. Time to find something to eat. Izuku said as he dashed into the dorm to find food to eat. After some time, Izuku gathered several ingredients and made himself some ramen. After several minutes, he placed his bowl of ramen on the table. Izuku started to drool as the aroma of his masterpiece filled the room. He smiled in pleasure as he sat on the couch and got ready to eat. Itadakimasu. Izuku said as he clapped his hands and took his chopstick to eat his food. As he gulped down the noodles, he ummed in delight. After having to live and survive in purgatory, he wasn't able to eat anything delicious. He quickly finished his delicious meal and washed the bowl and left it in the cupboard. Soon he went into his room, which he slept for the entire day. Beep 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 boom. Buzz off. Izuku lazily said he got up from the bed to the washroom to bathe. As he looked into the mirror, they saw something that would shock him, and the sins. Izuku's eyes widened as he stared blankly at the mirror. His entire hair turned yellow, and his hair turned more messy and less curly. He grew shorter and looked much younger. He basically looked like 𝐒𝐿𝐴. But why does Izuku look like Captain? Diane asked the others. All of them watched blankly from Izuku's mindscape. Diane, King, Gowther, Merlin, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 and Elizabeth watched in confusion. Ban watched in disbelief. Well, 𝐒𝐿𝐴. Well, he was bawling in laughter, rolling on the ground and clutching his stomach. Oh God! Oh my God! Ha! 𝐒𝐿𝐴 screamed as he continued rolling. What the hell did you do, you midget? Ban shouted at 𝐒𝐿𝐴 whilst shaking him. He became a living image of me. 𝐒𝐿𝐴 stated as he cried, tears of joy. Vichao. WN. Ban shouted as he stopped shaking 𝐒𝐿𝐴, who now stopped laughing. Izuku simply sighed as he listened to 𝐒𝐿𝐴 from inside his head. He accepted this and simply got ready for school. After some minutes, Izuku got out from his room to see the common room empty. He glanced at the clock to see that he had 20 minutes before school started. I guess everyone left already. Well, I guess I should go too. Izuku said as he walked to his classroom. As he walked to his class, he could sense and see several girls looking at him and whispering things to her friends as they smiled and pointed at Izuku. Izuku simply ignored the girls' comments. Some being, "Oh my God, that kid's so cute. I wonder whether he is taken. Oh God, I want to squish him so badly." And more, but he quickly ignored it. From outside the classroom, he could hear the loud noises coming from inside the classroom. He then opened the door, only to earn stares from the class. Izuku said as he waved at his class. Who are you? Ida asked, doing his normal hand chops. It's me, Izuku. Before you ask, I don't know how I looked like this. I just woke up, looked into a mirror, and I see myself like this. Izuku replied as he walked to his desk to put his bag. Soon, time passed and Izuku had to explain to each teacher why he looked the way he is. Alright class, please get ready tomorrow because we are going to 𝐼-Island. After everything that has happened for the past couple of days, we are going to 𝐼-Island as vacation. Aizawa said lazily as the class boomed with excitement, minus Izuku, Bakugo, Todoroki, Shoji, Tokoyami and Koda. Silence. Aizawa said, activating his quirk, silencing the class. Gather outside the school at 9 a.m. We are leaving at 9:10 a.m. sharp. Aizawa said as he exited the classroom. As soon as the sleep-deprived teacher exited the classroom, the class boomed in conversation. We are going to 𝐼-Island tomorrow. I've heard so much about it, I can't wait. Uraraka said in excitement. You're right, Uraraka-chan. I've only been there once, and that was when I was a child. Momo added. I'm excited too. My brother Ingenium has been there once. He described the place as appealing and peaceful. There were little villains and many people. What do you think of the field trip tomorrow, Midoriya? Ida stated as he looked at Midoriya, who was about to exit the class. Oh, I'm excited but not that excited. Izuku said as he exited the classroom. Merlin, where is this 𝐼-Island? Izuku asked. Let's see. It's about the same place where Sky Temple used Yo be at, about several kilometers under. Merlin informed. I see, that means that egg holding the 6 Knights of Black is at 𝐼-Island. That Demon Indura had to give its remaining energy to those 6 knights. Because of that, they are getting stronger as time pass. I also have a bad feeling about tomorrow. Izuku informed the Sins. That's true, don't let your guard down, Izuku. The ancestors of 𝗏𝗱 and 𝐿𝐴T are most likely living on 𝐼-Island, along with several celestials. Merlin stated. Island has celestials and normal humans living on the island. All Might is most likely friends with a normal human and a celestial. I'm also guessing that the plane ride there is going to take too long. Izuku said as he entered the dorms to rest and do work. The next day the sun shone brightly. It was 8:48 a.m. and Class 1A, 1B and the Big Three can be seen outside of UA waiting. The only person missing was Izuku. As the students continued talking, the pro teachers #BestTeachers arrived. Good. You all arrived earlier than we told you to. 𝐴𝐮𝐲𝐽 said lazily as always. Wait a minute, Eraserhead. Your little boy Midoriya is not here. Present, Mike said as he span air records. You're right. I guess we will leave high dash. What was that, 𝐴𝐮𝐲𝐽? You were going to leave me? Izuku said as he teleported next to 𝐴𝐮𝐽. Oh, son of a b dash. 𝐴𝐮𝐽 screamed in surprised. Language. Captain America, Izuku said. He. Izuku giggled as he wore Meliodas' bar attire. Let's just get on the bus to go to the airport. 𝐴𝐮𝐽 said as he was about to leave. Now hold on. Izuku said, gaining everybody's attention. I did some research and I learned that the time taken for us to reach Island would be about 4 hours to reach the island. So I got a faster way to reach the island. Izuku informed. Oh. And how would that be, young Midoriya? All Might asked. Well. Clears throat. Hawk's mom. Izuku screamed. As everyone wondered why Izuku screamed that, they could see something in the sky. Soon, the creature came closer to them, making the pros get ready. As it got closer, the creature moved slower and it became more visible. The creature safely landed on the ground and came to a halt next to Izuku. Yo, Hawk's mom. Long time no see. Izuku said as he pat Hawk's mom's leg. Izuku. Suddenly, a pig came from the top of the creature. It was a pink pig of half of Izuku's size. Hey ho, how have you been? Izuku replied cheerfully to the pig. A talking pig. The students shouted in shock. Yes, I am Hawk, the captain of leftovers. Hawk said with pride. Now then. Izuku said as he jumped to the house on top of Hawk's mom and kicked down a ladder. Get up here and let's go. Izuku shouted cheerfully as he entered the house. Soon everyone entered the house to see that it was a bar with Izuku being at the counter. Well, sit down for a while. I will make you guys some food and drinks. Heck, you want alcohol? You can count on me. Izuku said as everyone sat down. Hawk's mom. Let's go to Island. Izuku shouted. Everyone then felt them rising before moving at a fast pace, but not fast enough for them to fall. Well, state your orders. Izuku shouted as he clapped his hands. We're having food. Kaminari and Mineta exclaimed in excitement. Yep. It's gonna take about 2 hours to reach Island, so in this time, rest up or do whatever you want. Unless I say you can't. Izuku informed. So, you guys want food, drinks, alcohol? I have some of the best, the ones that my emissary loved to drink centuries ago. Izuku said as he took out several beer cups. Midoriya, you can't drink alcohol. That's underage drinking. Ida said, doing his hand chops. Ida, I'm, technically, the oldest one here. I'm more than 4,000 years old. Izuku said as he looked at Ida, who was blushing a bit, gaining snickers all around. Well, what do you guys want? Izuku said again, gaining shouts and hands to be raised up. Hours later, everyone was talking about Island. The teachers were discussing and Izuku was washing the dishes and cups. So, what do you guys think Island has? Jiru asked as she played with her quirk. It is probably a nice place. For UA to send us there means that Island must be pretty nice. Hagakure said. I agree with Toru. It must be a pretty cool place. Ojiro said, making Hagakure slightly blush, not that anyone can see. As Class 1A talked with Class 1B, the big three were also discussing important topics in another room. Come on, 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐻, admit it. You like him, Mirio said teasingly as Tamaki nudged 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐻's shoulder. It's not like that. 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐻 said, covering her blushing red face. You know you can't hide from the truth, 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐻. Either way, we won't judge. Tamaki said, patting 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐻's back. But still. 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐻 said embarrassingly as Mirio and Tamaki giggled in amusement as they had a huge smile on their face. Whistles 𝐻𝐻𝐽𝐻. Oh, we're here. Prepare for landing. Izuku shouted, gaining everyone's attention. They could feel Hawk's mom got faster and moving down. They could feel the entire bar shaking, so they all hold onto something. the table, a nearby object, or even another person. Mineta tried to grab onto Momo's leg, only to get a flaming kick to the face by Todoroki. Thanks. Momo said, blushing. No problem. Todoroki replied, looking at another direction so that no one could see his slight blush. Izuku smirked as he summoned Aldan and saw that Hawk's mom was about to land. Yo Hawk, you wanna follow or do you wanna stay here? Izuku asked Hawk. Oh, I'll stay here for a while. I'll come when I finish eating my meal. Hawk said as he went to eat his meal. Okay. Izuku replied. Soon, everyone could feel Hawk's mom land as they started to calm down. Soon, Izuku opened the bar door and kicked down the ladder and jumped down, telling everyone to go down. Soon, everyone jumped down of the bar and looked around. The students admired the entire area, viewing the appealing scenery around them. Whoa! Many of the students said in amazement. I see you all arrived earlier than I thought you would. A voice spoke, gaining everyone's attention as All Might had a large smile whilst in his muscle form. David. All Might said as he rushed at David and hugged him while spinning. David was surprised by the action, and so was everyone else. Everyone meet David Shield. All Might introduced. Hello there everyone. David said as he waved his hand. My name is David Shield. And this is my daughter, Melissa Shield. David said as Melissa walked to her father. Hello there. Melissa said as she smiled. Mr. Shield, what is your relationship with All Might? Ida asked. Please, call me David. David told Ida, who bowed and nodded in apology. As for my relationship with All Might, I'm a good friend of him. I also designed his costume. David told, earning nods from the students. So how did you guys arrive so fast? Uncle All Might told us that you would arrive earliest by 2 p.m. Melissa asked. Oh, we arrived with the help of 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐬. Todoroki stopped as he looked behind him to find Hawk's mom gone, and so was Izuku. Where's Izuku? Todoroki asked, snapping those who were shocked at Melissa calling All Might Uncle All Might. Yeah, where is Izuku? Bakugo also asked. With Izuku, so these are the ancestors of the Celestials. Izuku said as he walked around, watching as some people flew around with wings, and some walking with their friends. It seems that the Celestials have gotten weaker throughout these centuries. Merlin stated. Izuku said. Back with the group walked around the area, admiring the scenery around them. Some being amazed as they saw people flying with small white wings on their back. The group followed Melissa as she guided the group around island as David and All Might conversed with the other teachers. So as you can see yo Melissa. Hey Melissa. Everyone looked at the source of the voices, causing their eyes to widen. Two figures with wings flew down to them with wide smiles, waving at Melissa and the group. Hey 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴. Melissa replied, waving at the two as they landed. Well, hello there. My name is Midoriya. The classes shouted, shocking Melissa, 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴, and 𝐿𝐴. I'm 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴, and here beside me is 𝐿𝐴. 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 introduced. Hello, 𝐿𝐴 greeted. The class watched as they saw 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴, a almost complete copy of Izuku. Blonde hair, green eyes, same height, similar smile. Did Midoriya ever say he had a twin brother? The group thought. You guys spoke of this Midoriya person. Who is he? Melissa asked, gaining everyone's attention. Ida started before being interrupted. Hey guys. Izuku's voice can be heard shouting. Everyone turned their head to see Izuku in some sort of outfit. Behind him was a large muscular man with grayish-white hair and beard wearing a similar outfit to Izuku. Mr. Zoria. Father. Oh 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴, there you are. I was wondering where you are after I found this boy right here that looks like you. Zoria said as he walked closer to the group. Flashback 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴. Where are your wings? Zoria shouted in nervousness. Sorry but I'm not 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴. But I think I know where he might be. Izuku replied. Who are you then? And how do you know where 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 is? Zoria asked curious. And a flashback, wow. You really look like me. 𝐀𝐮𝐿𝐴 said walking to Izuku. Izuku laughed sheepishly, scratching the back of his neck. It's like the same problem I had to deal with when I was here. 𝐴𝐻𝐿 said inside of Izuku's mindscape. Well then, let's continue with the tour. Melissa shouted as the group continued on with the tour. As they started to continue on the tour, Melissa, David, 𝗏𝗱𝗟, and Zoria felt something that sent shivers down their spines. This presence. This feeling. It's that of a demon. As time passed, the tour continued normally, except for the lingering feeling of cautiousness in Zoria, 𝗏𝗟, and Melissa. The group was taught about the events that happened centuries ago, the time of ruin, the 7 deadly sins helping to protect the Sky Temple, the 6 Knights of Black, the 𝗏𝗱 and 𝗏𝗟 from long ago, and so on and so forth. As they talked about the 7 deadly sins, Izuku piqued in interest as the sins listened to them talk about the events of centuries ago. Surprisingly, it was quite exact to what had happened all those centuries ago, only making them wonder how they haven't noticed how Izuku looked like 𝐴𝐻𝐿. Now then, we know that you are here for temporary vacation, but we still want you all to be prepared for possible villain attacks. So, we are going to teach you sword fighting. Zoria informed them as he grabbed a long wooden stick from a barrel. Now, we aren't going to let you use actual swords, but we are going to use these wooden rods. There are rods of different lengths, so pick the one that you feel comfortable with. David said, making some sigh and glad. Now before we start, who here knows how to use a sword? Zoria asked the group. Not a second later, everyone, including many teachers, looked at Izuku as he stood with a blank face. You know how to use a sword? 𝗏𝗱 asked, gaining a nod from Izuku. Why not a spar? Zoria asked, picking an actual metal sword. Sure. Izuku said, smiling as he took a sword from a nearby table that had a bunch of swords. Wait, isn't that dangerous? Izuku and the sins thought. Alright, begin. David shouted. Zoria dashed at Izuku, moving his sword aiming for his chest. Izuku dodged left and slashed his sword at Zoria's chest, earning a block from Zoria. Zoria sweat as he parried the attack. Izuku's eyes glowed as bloodlust seeped out from his eyes. I've been starting to watch Assassination Classroom and it's been stuck into my mind. Izuku, taking advantage of the SWs, started to relentlessly attack Zoria with his sword. Each attack aimed for the chest. Izuku moved back before sending a powerful slash at Zoria. Zoria retaliated with a full-powered high slash onto Izuku's blade. The two blades collided, making a loud sound. Zoria quickly aimed a punch at Izuku's face, who dodged the attack, losing his sword in the process. Izuku whispered a curse before dashing back at Zoria. Everyone watched in anticipation as Izuku lost his sword and dashed at Zoria. Zoria quickly dashed at Izuku and slashed his sword, aiming for his head. Izuku smirked, jumping over Zoria and taking his sword, which had been embedded into the ground. Dust came out of the hole that had held his sword. Zoria turned back, only to see Izuku at his face with a slightly sad face and glowing eyes that held bloodlust. Zoria blocked the attack with his sword, despite the attack sending his several meters to his left. Damn it, what the hell was that? Zoria thought. Before he could answer himself, Izuku appeared in front of him and slashed his sword repeatedly at Zoria. The attack was so fast that it looked like 20 swords was slashing at Zoria. Zoria walked back as he continued to block the onslaught being sent to him. Suddenly, Zoria's sword was sent flying by a slash to the closest part of the sword's hilt. It's over, Izuku said coldly as the end of the sword was at Zoria's neck. Zoria's face was full of fear as sweat dripped from his face. Hopefully this was an okay sword fight. 𝐒𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫. Denki said in amazement. 𝗏𝗱𝗟, 𝗏𝗟, Melissa and David look in disbelief as Izuku beat Zoria in a sword fight. Unbelievable! They thought in surprised and amazement. After that fight, the class was taught sword fighting by Zoria and several other celestials. Izuku rested on the branch of a nearby tree as Zoria explained sword fighting. He already learned from 𝐴𝐻𝐿, so it all seemed like basic skill to him. He watched as the group used the rod as their sword. Though they were practicing the basics, they were learning at a steady pace, most of which gaining the hang of it quickly. Bakugo practiced with Todoroki, both learning at quite a speedy pace and being at around the same level of strength. Izuku became more tired as he watched the group of students practice. He sighed in exhaustion before resting his entire body on the branch. Suddenly, Izuku felt that something was wrong. Jumping off of the branch, his eyes darted around before eyeing the large egg holding the 6 Knights of Black. Thunder roared the skies as the teachers and students became wary. David, Midoriya, 𝐀𝐮𝐬𝐿 and 𝐿𝐿 watched in concern, feeling a sense of dread in their gut. Suddenly, a black and red lightning bolt struck the egg, cracking it into 1,000,000 pieces. A dark shockwave was created as hundreds and hundreds of blue, gray and red demons escaped from the egg. What the hell happened? What are those things? Asked a panicked Mineta. The demon clan. 𝐀𝐮𝐿 said. Chow. They were sealed and killed during the time of ruin centuries ago. 𝐿𝐿 asked in panicked. The Endura that was sealed centuries ago made the egg have a demonic ability that allowed it to create demons as time passed. With centuries passing since the time of ruin, many demons were created. Those 6 Knights of Black are most likely coming soon. They've gotten stronger now since the last time the 7 deadly sins fought them. Izuku said as he walked to the front. How do you know about that? 𝐀𝐮𝐿 asked Izuku. Izuku looked at 𝐀𝐮 as he summoned 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫 into his left-hand and 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝑣𝐻 into his right hand. My name is Izuku Midoriya, successor of the 7 deadly sins. Izuku said, smiling at 𝐀𝐮. 𝐀𝐮, 𝐿𝐿, Melissa and David were beyond shock at what Izuku said. Midoriya, you better take that winged sword if we are going to fight these demons. Then we need to do it now.